You are about to witness history in the making.
Hello everyone and welcome to the latest episode of the Pop Culture Gamers. I'm here with my joint host Steve. Hi Steve, how are you doing?
Okay, nice and warm now after this last week. So
yeah, you've had a terrible time with your boiler, haven't you?
And the snow and the rain. Awful. Anyway, not bad.
Yeah, well, that's at least you're warm now. That's the main thing.
Exactly.
So, first off, what I want to do is just do an apology for our faux pas in the last episode. We did state that James Cameron had won the BAFTA Fellowship. I think that we went off on a little bit of a tangent.
We did.
We did indeed, because it was actually, as you all know, Sir Ridley Scott. But what we are planning on doing is doing a special on looking at all of his films at some time soon. So sorry we went off on a tangent, but it's just one of them things of you get distracted on a conversation and we've completely forgot where we were going and what we were actually originally talking about. So as you do sometimes. So sorry about that. Okay, so Steve, do you want to tell us how your week's been?
So, I suppose this week's all been about the weather in the UK, with Storm Emma giving us the worst snow that we've had in years. Red and amber warnings everywhere. For us, Thursday, we hit 4.5 inches of snow. And come the next morning as well, we had freezing rain.
Yeah.
That night, Thursday, I left my boiler on. I thought I left it on overnight. But it didn't happen because the pipe out the back still froze. And up in the morning, the boiler light was flashing because it couldn't fire up because of the frozen, condensation pipe out the back.
Mm.
And then I went to look at my car, and it was frozen like an ice lolly. Now, no kidding, there was like 4 inches of snow on top, and I went and hit it, and it was like you could crack. It was rock solid, the whole car. So I didn't go into work Friday. Sorted out the
because
pipe.
you couldn't get in your car.
No, and I also had the boiler not working, so that was important as well. So I had to defrost the pipe work, but then it was there's about 3 meters, 2-3 meters of pipe work over to where the drain is.
Yeah.
But I tried to do that, but that was no good. So I had to take the pipe off the wall and drain part of it where I could pull the pipe off, so just the hose coming out the boiler was. So yeah, all good fun, really.
Sounds like an absolute pain in the backside.
It was, and it's been the warmest. It's been 9 degrees today, and that feels like it's about 90 degrees, considering. Yeah. What about yourself? Was yours as bad as me?
Well, I've worked from home all week. Or most of the week, I should say, not all week. I did go in for a day, basically. And then we got weather warning, so it was sort of like, if you can work from home, don't bother coming in, kind of thing. Mm. So I just, sat with my laptop and did my work as I would do normally. It's quite nice, actually, having the peace and quiet of being at home, or I should say it would normally be, apart from the fact that my son's school closed.
Of course it did,
as well. So that made it a little bit more difficult, but, such is life, isn't it? But my wife was off for a couple of days looking after my son as well.
Yeah.
So I thought by the end of the week, and, my son school was still closed, I thought, he's getting cabin fever. I need to do something. So I took the last day off as annual leave and just, spent some time doing stuff with him. So, just you got to do these things as a parent every now and again, don't you?
Yeah. I think all our family, my missus was told not to come into work because of how bad it was. Because what happened? Because I don't know if you understand this freezing rain, which I've never really seen before. Just everything was a sheet of ice on the floor, on top of the snow.
Yeah.
So when I went around the house, I mean, I was on top of the snow. Obviously, I'm not very lightweight, but it was like crunching, like a topping from a, like a Magnum ice lolly with the chocolate.
Yeah.
It was just like that because I was on top, making all these crunching noises as I was walking around the house. And it was just so dodgy. So I've emailed my office, but no one got back to me. So
yeah. Well, it's just because you're a soft southerner. That's all it is. Because what you call harsh winter, we call summer.
Well, I tell you, I feel really sorry for those that were really further up north in Scotland.
Oh yes, indeed. Yeah, it gets bad up there normally anyway.
I mean, we had the news on, and they showed you the New Forest on the Thursday night.
Yeah.
And there was cars stuck in the snow for 8 hours in the New Forest. It was just ridiculous.
There was something I was watching on the news, and it was somewhere down south where it was like someone said that they'd been stuck in a vehicle for 17 hours and moved 100 metres.
Yeah, and then there was a train just outside of Christchurch where I am. It left London at whatever time. It arrived about 1 o'clock in the morning, but it broke down. There's 1,500 passengers in there, not going anywhere. You had to airlift supplies in to keep them warm and drinks and everything else.
Yeah.
It's stupid.
Well, as I think really as a country, we're quite ill prepared for really poor weather. That's the main problem.
I mean, it's great that the snow's gone for some of us, but now I've got flood warnings in my area.
You trade one for the other, don't you?
You do, yeah. It's really funny, but there you go.
And just to think, next weekend the clocks go forward because it's beginning of spring.
Yay! And we lose an hour in bed. Woo!
Boo! But it'll soon be autumn when we get that back.
Oh, hopefully, yeah.
So, yeah. Other than that, I've been getting on with audiobooks as well.
Yes, that's very interesting, I must admit.
Yeah, and I've been listening to one of your favourites, Ready Player One.
I'm already on part 2 already myself, to be honest. About chapter 22 at the moment.
Yeah. Well, I have to admit, I know that you love it. And I have to admit, it's a massive roller coaster ride of Easter eggs for the listener, of the, I would say, 30 to 50-year-old sort of age period. But I have to admit, I just don't feel that the world is believable. And I don't mean just in the Oasis, I mean everything about it. I know that a lot of people have talked about the love for this. And this is really like a mecca for pop culture, isn't it, really? Because it's absolutely littered with references right the way through from early video games to movies and everything else. And don't get me wrong, I think the story's beautifully scripted. I think it's very clever in its incorporation of the references. But I kind of feel that unless you're in our sort of age groups and maybe up to about 10 years younger than us, you'll get it. Whereas I think the more towards the millenniums that you get, the less that a lot of that becomes relevant. And
I mean, that is going to be the case. But I think the way they've supposedly filmed the movie, and they've added in sort of video characters, for example, from Overwatch and stuff like that, and just to make it more relevant.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So maybe the book won't appeal as much until they've seen the movie. They might then go to the book afterwards. Yeah.
I just think that it doesn't quite work for me. Is that
because it's not in the Star Wars universe?
No, it's not. I'm not that shallow. And also, it's not because it's not in the Star Trek universe either, or any other universe. It's just, I just didn't find it as a believable world. I
suppose it's each to their it's still each to your own on anything like this. I mean, I really love the story. And I like the way that the quests and how they were used with things that I can remember, and without spoiling the book side of it, because we're not sure how relevant it will be to come to the movie when that comes out. But it does run as what's the right word to use now, if I can say it. It does resonate with me because I was a teenager in the 80s. Do you know what I mean?
So was I.
Yeah, well, but you were. I don't know what I mean. I was 16 about 1980. Yeah,
I was 13 in 1984.
So for me, finishing my whole teenage years was those years, and all those movies that they were talking about, I actually saw in the cinema when they were released, and it all just brings a lot of good memories back.
Yeah, and it does with me as well, but you're kind of answering my point that I'm making in terms of, I think it's a book that is aimed at us.
No, exactly. Yeah, absolutely.
It's not aimed at,
But that's why the film will be different, because I'm not holding hopes that it's going to be exactly as the book, because it won't be.
No,
there's going to be a lot of differences in that. And that will incorporate for people that are, say, in their 20s, 30s.
Yeah. And I think younger as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, he's writing the sequel book as we speak.
Yeah.
Because they're going to do they want to do a second movie, so they've gone into Mr. Klein is now pen to paper for the next book.
Yeah.
We'll wait and see.
I think probably one of the things for me that didn't work so much, and considering we're pop culture gamers, this is probably going to be quite a contradictory sort of statement. This is going to be the
pop sarcastic gamers in a minute. Go on, carry on.
But I just think that there was too much pop culture reference in it.
Well, that was the idea, though, in the story, wasn't it? Because everyone...
Yeah, I know that, because everybody's sort of like going along on these quests because it's about the guy who invented the Oasis and about them chasing, his like holy grail in there to become the controller of the company, or whatever, because that's his will.
But in the way of the world is because of him, the 80s came back on another spin, and everyone was into the 80s in that time in the book. Do you know what I mean? So hence the way it went, really. Because even as Wade talking to the grand he was living with, saying that she was there when it happened and was reliving moments for him, telling him stories, because obviously he's early teenage years and just taking all that information in that he's getting second hand now, that he thought he'd love to be there at the time, but we'll see. I'm going to definitely go and try and see it on release.
Oh, I'm going to go and try and see it as well.
Don't
get me wrong, I'm not enjoying it. I'm not engaging in the world, the universe of it as much as I thought I would. Like I said, it's just, I think my suspension of disbelief is still there. Do you know what I mean? I've not accepted it as a universe.
Well, I think the way it's read as well is very well done.
Yeah.
And Will Wheaton, even though he has to mention his own name in the book, I think he's done excellent with it, to be honest.
Yeah, he's not done too bad at all. Not done too bad. But anyway, well, we'll see. I'm looking forward to the film. So I'm not sure when that's released. It's not too long.
End of March.
Yeah.
So 3-4 weeks away.
Yeah. So we'll see when it comes out. Moving on. You've had complaints about your Xbox controller, Elite controller, and the rubber coming off the back. Mine started it now as well, very slightly, but it has finally started it. So quite clearly, the acid in my blood is not quite as thick as yours.
Yours is as green as mine. You know that, don't you?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a fault in it. I'm sure it is. And I've got this rubber. The one you pointed me to, which has a rubber sleeve over the whole controller, which helps. But you can get your first one replaced for free, though.
Can you?
Yeah.
But isn't that only if it's in warranty?
I'm assuming so, but you can give it a go because I did, but they wouldn't give me in the second one. Gits, but
Yeah. I think it is wrong when it is a design flaw because they're not using the right sort of glue.
Yeah,
I think it would have been better with a clip-on, to be honest, the way that the other part is.
Yeah. I mean, I've been tempted to actually get a scalpel out and trim it and then just glue it with some super glue. But
yeah,
it's just spending a bit of time with it,
Well, that's what I'm kind of considering doing, to be honest, just getting some super glue and sticking it down. Because it's only just to say lifting up at the moment, but that'll soon change.
Oh, it will do. Trust me.
Yeah. So, but when I saw it last night, I thought, oh, no. Never mind. These things happen to us, don't they? So, other than that, I've been watching a few things this week, which I'll talk about. I didn't actually get to see The Flash or Legends of Tomorrow, simply because my Skybox completely did not record, despite the fact it was on Series Link with recording, the next series as soon as it became available.
Well, so maybe there's a flaw in your HD box. You might need to go for the Sky Q one instead.
I'm not paying an extra tenner for Sky. I think they're getting more than enough money out of me as it is, to be honest.
Well, you can always ask about it, and they might give you, obviously you have to pay for the box, but you might,
yeah.
But then they might waiver that. That you can always try it on and ask them.
Yeah, well, I think I am going to message them because I've had loads of programs that I've set to record, and then because Sky call it something different, like new The Flash, it doesn't pick it up.
Well, that shouldn't make a blind bit of difference, to be honest.
No, it shouldn't, but it does. That's the thing, because exactly the same thing with the Dragon's Den and other programs as well, where I've, got it on Series Link and, set up for recording the next time it comes round. Even the new, series of Trolleyed, which is just finished. The only reason why I knew that was on was because I was flicking through the channels and they said, and next the new series in Trolleyed. And I thought, what? Why it should be recording now because it's 3 minutes before it's about to start, because I have mine set 3 minutes before it starts just in case.
Yeah.
And it didn't do, so no, I think that they've got serious problems on that system.
Well, you could phone them up saying you've got a real issue with that box. They may well send you a replacement HD box.
Maybe. But
that doesn't mean, it's up to you really, because then you will lose everything on that box you've got.
Well, I'm not too bothered about that, to be honest, because I tend to watch stuff and then, keep a whole series till I've got to the end of it in case I want to go back and then delete it when I finish watching it all.
Oh, okay.
So, but I always seem to be running with about 4% left.
Well,
I have a lot. I have a lot on there.
Well, I'm on 70%, and I've got the bigger Sky Q box. But I've got the whole of the Strike Back seasons there. I've got the bulk of X-Files at the moment that's been recording.
X-Files, that's another example. That didn't record.
Weird.
That's another one that didn't record as well, because that was set up as well for, recording when it came back.
And my preference for movies or TV shows is to record in UHD as well. So if there's a UHD version, they will record that version compared to the standard. And considering what I've got on my box is like shed loads, absolute shed loads.
Yeah. Well, I might get in contact with the customer support and see what's wrong, because it's clearly there is something the matter with the system. So anyway. Other than that, gaming wise, I've got a bit of all sorts this week. So we'll have a look at that. And in matter of fact, one of the games that you've got to talk about, I've also got, but I haven't got it in the way that you have.
Yeah, interesting, isn't it?
Yes. What a surprise! But I won't break your or ruin a surprise for what we're talking about. I'll leave it for a little bit. So I think with that, in that case, then we'll move on to gaming this week.
No longer a dream, but a reality.
Okay, Steve, do you want to tell us what your bit of news is for this week?
Okay, so 4 more titles on Xbox have gone enhanced. This time they're all 360 catalogue, from the 360 catalogue. So we've got Crackdown, Fable Anniversary, Witcher 2, and Forza Horizon. So
and this is a new Xbox enhanced ones as well, isn't it?
They all are. They're all Xbox enhanced, yeah.
No, but there is a new setting or something, isn't there, on enhanced?
Well, there's 2 settings actually, which I've got in my notes for later when we talk about one of the games, because I have played Crackdown extensively for a few hours. To give that, so that's one of the games I've played. But yeah, no, we'll talk about that a bit later with the game I've mentioned. But yeah, there is new settings in there for your Xbox.
Okay,
which is pretty interesting. You're going to do the PlayStation Plus?
Yeah, we're going to talk about the changes to PlayStation Plus, in a matter of fact. Everybody, boo, yes, indeed. Everybody should have been notified by PlayStation by now, I think. But basically, PlayStation 3 and PlayStation Vita games and titles will not be included in PlayStation Plus from the monthly games allocated from 8th of March 2019. So after the 8th of March 2019, the monthly games provided by PlayStation Plus members will no longer be or include any PS3 or Vita titles. Any PS3 or Vita titles downloaded previously and added to your download list will remain there as long as you remain a PlayStation Plus member. And beyond 8th of March 2019, monthly games will only include the PS4 titles. All other features and benefits of the PlayStation Plus service remain unaffected.
And don't forget that the price went up as well, so...
Yeah, well, I was about to say, so it's nice of them to just put the price up and then take away some of the benefits.
Yeah.
But to be fair, the PlayStation 3 will be about 12 years old by then.
That's fair enough, I understand that.
And they can't keep going on forever. We understand that, but does it really affect us all now?
Well, I do pick up the PlayStation Vita title, and it's my list.
Yeah, the Vita, I think, is more of a sting in the tail than the PlayStation 3, to be honest.
Oh, yeah, it is, absolutely. Because there are a lot of people still reuse them. And, that was quite a nice little thing to have. When, for example, I bought mine quite late, and getting those titles every month was building up a nice little catalogue to play away from home.
Yes.
But now, I don't know how many... I'm assuming we're going to get 2 titles, is it, for the PlayStation each month now?
I don't know, because I think that obviously what they'll probably try and do is ramp up the VR stuff.
Yeah, but that's no good. That's not going to be any good for a lot of us, is it? So that's a load of tosh, to be honest. I think they should at least add another title from the PlayStation for the PlayStation 4 after taking 2 away to give one back. That would be an extra PlayStation 4 title. They've got plenty in that back catalogue they can go back to.
Yes, they have. I mean, I must admit, I am disappointed in the fact that obviously we're losing so much. I wouldn't have been bothered if they'd have turned around and said PlayStation 3. But I think the Vita, even people use those quite regular. I think those who have them, and they're nice to haves in there as well. But for those who do have a Vita, so I think maybe it's a little bit too much to be pulling the plug on. And to be honest, unless you've got PlayStation VR, then those VR games are going to be useless to you.
Yeah.
So, I'm sure it's great value for money for people who have VR, but for those of us who don't, it is a complete and utter waste of time. At least with the Vita titles, they were available on the PS4 or PS3 as well.
Yeah.
You know, I can't think of many that were exclusive.
Excuse me. Yeah, well, I mean, Xbox give you 4 titles a month.
Yes. 2 back compat and 2 new.
Yeah. And, I mean, how many titles are we going to get if you're going to include the VR ones? Are they going to give us 2 VR and 2 PlayStation 4 titles?
I don't know.
I mean, we'll have to wait and see what happens after, in the after March, because they've announced already the latest ones, haven't they? For this. Yeah,
well, we'll come on to those shortly anyway. So I think I've got them in a minute. Yeah, I have. So I just think it's a bit of a shame, really, for the Vita, because I can't understand why did Sony release the Vita when we're going to treat it so badly. It's a great little handheld console, but never mind.
I mean, just without saying what they are till we get to it later, you're talking there's 2 titles there for the PlayStation 4. Then you've got a PlayStation 3 title, 2 PS Vita titles. Then below that, there's another 2 PlayStation 3, another 2 PlayStation Vita titles.
Yeah, well, actually, to be fair, there's actually 5 PlayStation 4 titles in there, but with cross-buy with the Vita or PS3.
Yeah.
But we'll come on to that shortly anyway. Okay, so anybody who hasn't heard the news, then that's the big changes coming to Plus. New releases this week. We have Final Fantasy 15 Windows Edition. So if you want to get that, that's available from the 6th. We've got TT Isle of Man on the PC, PS4 and Xbox One, again on the 6th. On the 7th, we have Bravo Team on the PSVR and Fanatics on the PlayStation 4, which is a PlayLink game. On the 9th, we also have Scribblenauts Showdown on the PS4, Xbox One and Switch, and Life is Strange Before the Storm Limited Edition on PS4 and Xbox One. So, Final Fantasy 15, it'll be good for the PC owners to get that on the PC, on Windows. Scribblenauts, I've played that a little bit. It's a bit of a weird sort of game. I don't know whether or not you've ever seen those ones, Steve.
I've only heard of it, but never really dived in any shape or form. Yeah,
it's a weird sort of game. And Life is Strange Before the Storm, I started playing that on the Xbox not so long ago.
So what's the limited edition then? What's that mean?
I don't know, I presume it's got the soundtrack and stuff like that the previous one had.
Maybe.
Yeah. Okay, so charts this week. Well, we've got EA Sports UFC 3 at number 5. At number 4, Monster Hunter World, which stays the same as it was the previous week. Number 3, up from 8 last week, is Call of Duty World War II. Number 2, up from number 3 last week, somehow it is Grand Theft Auto 5. And finally, this week, we've got FIFA 18 still clinging on to that number 1 slot.
Yeah. Crazy.
Yeah. I know I said it last week and I said it the week before, but how GTA 5 is still up there. It just beggars belief to be so high up in the charts. If it was number like 80 or something like that, I could understand it, but in the top 5 all the time. How long's that been going on?
Oh, God. How long? Yeah.
Yeah.
Incredible, isn't it?
It is. So, PlayStation Plus games this week. For March, we have Bloodborne, Ratchet and Clank, Mighty Number 9, Claire Extended Cut, and Bombing Busters. So, Mighty Number 9 is a cross-buy with the PS3, so you can also get the PS3 version, and also for the PS3 there is Legend of K. PS Vita, Claire Extended Cut and Bombing Busters are both cross-buys as well. So that's the games for Plus this week. I think there's 2 good A-listed games there in that collection. You know, Bloodborne is an excellent game.
Yeah,
if you like Dark Souls.
I've not really played them, to be honest, so I will probably tick the yes to download, and we'll see whenever I get a chance.
I think you're going to like this, you know.
I don't know.
Because you go for that sort of like horror-y kind of universe, and Bloodborne is very much like that. And it does take a bit of skill and mastery to do. You know, you don't go in all swords blazing. I would say guns, but it's more appropriate, probably swords and axes.
Yeah.
In there, because you'll soon get overpowered. It does, you know, you have to be a bit more strategic in your attacks and more stealthy as well.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I just like to go gung ho and just dive in there, and
you can't do that on this game.
No, I mean, you know, like Assassin's Creed, you can do either or, but
yeah.
I mean, we'll see.
Well, it'll be interesting to see if you do download Bloodborne, what you think of it.
I mean, I will download it all. Download everyone that I can that's available for me to have.
Yeah.
This is going to be the last month of it, so...
No, that's got another year.
No, I went about with all the other PS Vita titles, so I'll download all of those and...
That's for another year.
Oh, is it? Are you sure?
Yeah, PlayStation 3 and Vita titles will be included in PS Plus games until 8th of March 2019.
Ah, okay.
We've got a year.
I thought it was this month.
I did when I first saw it, because I misread it, but it's actually 2019, so it's not imminent.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay, so...
I stand corrected then on my rant.
Yeah. Well, to be honest, because what got me, when I saw that they were releasing PS3 games, I thought, well, why didn't they just do it from the day that it's launched?
Yeah.
For the month? Because it didn't make sense. And then I reread the email and I went, oh. You know, when you have that moment.
I'm still doubting you because I'm actually going through my emails and have a PlayStation.
Well, that I put in a note is a cut and paste from the email. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not going to moan. It's all right.
Okay. All right then. Gaming this week, Steve. So tell us about Crackdown Xbox One Enhanced.
So this game I thoroughly enjoyed back in the day. I didn't even look to see how old this game was, but it is a really old game now. This came out, I suppose, to help promote Halo 3 at the time.
Yeah.
Because when you bought Crackdown, you got the beta built into the game on the menu system. So with the amount of people that loved Halo, Crackdown got a good crack of the whip, shall we say, with this. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. So when I heard that these 4 games were being released, now I do own all 4 that have been given this Xbox One Enhanced treatment. So I fired it up. I went to my manager. I downloaded all the DLC that I own as well.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty impressed. Firstly, just to remind you, to get to the menus on the 360, you have to push your 2 little buttons on your controller together simultaneously. That brings up the dashboard. And when you go to your go to settings, you will see an Xbox One settings tab. And on default, they give you graphics over performance, but you can change it. But to do that, you'll need to reboot the game.
Yeah.
It looks fantastic. I went into it so much. I went and collected the first 100 orbs. And if you remember, this island is set up in about 4 sections.
Mm-hmm.
And the major section on the left, I've covered all of that and beaten all the bosses. And I've started the next one as well. And I've climbed halfway up the tower at the middle to see how much my with the orbs that I've got and how powerful I am, and thoroughly enjoying it. No achievements are popping at the moment because I've got the bulk of them anyway. But I just think it's a great game, and anyone that maybe have missed out on that should give it a go. Especially with
I did.
Oh, so you never played it first time round?
Well, I did, but I didn't get on with it. I don't think I got the game at the time.
Right.
Whereas I do get the game now. But I've just not gone back to it, because it was like a very old Xbox 360 title. I just thought, no, I'm not going to go back.
There is a multiplayer for it. There is a multiplayer for it as well.
Is there?
Yeah. If I'm sure that is running still, because I did play that multiplayer with Glim back in the day, and we would go running around hunting for orbs.
Yeah.
And yes, it's a blinding game. It's just a great bit of fun. Actually, this is now whetting my appetite for the new Crackdown. Whether it's released or not this year is another matter. I like to think so now. Or some people are now saying, in hindsight, oh, this is out now because they're going to drop the bombshell and say it won't be out till next year. But we shall see.
Yeah,
on that.
There's always people who are negative about stuff like that, isn't there?
Yeah, but it's a great. It still looks, because it's a cartoon graphical image. It doesn't seem to have dated much, to be honest, for me. I think I've got, maybe some people might say I've got rose-tinted spectacles on, but by the by, I mean, I really love it.
Well, I'm going to dig it out, because I've got the disc somewhere, so I'll install it from disc.
Yeah, and some people, I think, may have got this for nothing, because some people said, where did that come from?
Yeah.
So whether or not they've actually passed it on to people that may have not got it in their library. Because that would be a nice sneaky move, because if with Crackdown 3 coming out, let's give them Crackdown 1 for nothing. Let's give them Xbox One Enhanced as well to give them some better graphics.
Well, it would make sense, wouldn't it?
Absolutely. So yeah. So the next two games, I've got Super Lucky's Tale and Halo Wars 2. But I've gone down the route of doing a free 14-day trial on Game Pass. And I just thought, what the hell?
Didn't you think about leaving it until right up until the launch of Sea of Thieves?
No, because then that's all I'll be playing. I'm thinking, I might even go down the month of maybe doing 1 month after.
Yeah.
So I've always wanted to have a go at Super Lucky's Tale. Now, I don't. If you remember this game back in the day was on the Oculus, and I played that on EGX, and to be honest, it made me feel a bit sick with the camera movement.
Yeah.
I played an hour of it now on the Xbox, and there was talk that the camera movements were pretty awkward with the controller, but I think it seemed okay to me. I mean, it's a good look, it's a lovely looking game. It's very much it's a platformer style. Bounce around, jump on the enemies, collect the coins, pretty standard stuff.
Yes.
But I just thought that was a nice breath of fresh air for me, because I don't think the last time I played a platform game like that.
No, well, actually, I've also got this one.
So did you purchase it then, I presume?
Yeah, I purchased it because it was, how much was it? 20 quid?
Yeah, something like that, or maybe even be cheaper, I think. I don't know now, but...
Yeah, I'm sure I paid $19.99 for it.
So, have you actually dived into this one yet?
I have. I've played the first few areas in there, getting the clover leaf, making up the name, because you have to find the letters to make up his name as well, don't you?
That's right. I think I've got about 4 of them.
Yeah.
But no, I think it's a lovely looking game. Absolutely lovely. I think kids probably love this.
See, I got this with the thing of, I thought my son would like it, and he's just not played it at all. But to be honest, he's so obsessed with Roblox. Although this whole last week, all that he's done is spend, because I gave him my old 5C iPhone.
Right.
And he's just spent the whole time FaceTiming his friend, playing Terraria and Minecraft. So they sat there, both of them, talking to each other, with the phones pointing at each other. So all I can think it says, Thank God that's actually on the Wi-Fi network because he hasn't got much data usage.
Yeah, he'd be making you bankrupt, wouldn't he?
No, I've got it so that if he hits the cap, that's it. It's tough luck. But the problem is because one of the reasons why I decided to give him an iPhone was to use the Find My Friends feature. So because I'm on EE and he's on EE and we're all on the same contract.
Yeah.
What that means is on my new contract, I've got 8 gigs a month.
Oh, okay.
So I'm constantly feeding him, another 250 megabytes here, there and everywhere when he goes off to the park or whatever, so I can just make sure that he's going where he's supposed to be going.
Yeah, have you tracked his phone by any chance as well?
Yeah, well, that's a Find My Friends thing.
Okay, right. Okay.
Yeah, so, yeah.
Well, maybe what you want to do is, I don't know if he's seen you playing the game. You might.
Yeah, he watched it.
Because that's what sometimes can say, oh, let me have a go at that. Oh, yeah, I have the controller. And
he actually looked at it and he said, that's just a rip-off of Tails off Sonic. So I thought, yeah, actually, the character does look just like Tails.
I did think that myself, to be honest, but I thought, what the hell? It's a new IP they brought up there, and they've just tried to give us something that normally Xbox doesn't really do.
Yeah, but it's not just on Xbox, is it? It's not an exclusive. I think it's on PlayStation as well, isn't it?
I don't think so.
You sure?
Yeah, you can have a Google in a minute when I talk about the next one, but I might be wrong, but I'm sure that probably is on Xbox only, because that was a launch title when the Xbox One X came out.
Was it?
So while you're looking at that now, shall I go into the next one?
Okay.
So the other game I've been playing, you actually own as well.
Yeah, I do.
So I started playing Halo Wars 2. Now, when you hear of an RTS game, people think of it slow, boring, lackluster game. But however, I don't know about yourself yet, but 343, having put this game together with some of the best cutscenes I've ever seen in 4K that look amazing, has sold it to me.
Yeah.
I've started the campaign, which is in 12 parts, by the way. Completed the first part in 115 minutes, and I've just started chapter 2, and I'm loving it. I've been on it all afternoon, to be honest.
You've been wanting to play this for ages, though. I
have, and those cutscenes give you that bit of excitement as well.
Yeah, they lift it.
They do, absolutely, and I think the way it was a bit different, because sometimes the way these RTS games work is you're going to just sit there and do your tower defense and whatever, but the campaign sort of pushes you in a direction. Then you'd get to a point where then you've got to build your base and go from there, and then clear the map to kill the big boss at the end. Yes. I've just thoroughly enjoyed it. I can't. And this game's a year old now. Did you know that?
Well, yeah, because I played this when I went to the PC Gamer event in London.
Yeah.
Remember when I went last year? Yeah,
so this came out February last year, believe it or not.
Yeah.
But it looks fantastic as well. Absolutely fantastic.
Mm.
Really.
It's a good game. It's a very good game.
There's other parts I haven't really looked at, because I've got a stack of cards to open for this Blitz, which I haven't even looked at it yet. There's like a Blitz mode. So I haven't got a clue what that is yet. And there is like, your sort of a multiplayer side to it as well.
Yeah.
Whether or not that's against each other or not, or together, I haven't got a clue. But I think we need to check this one out together, to be honest. And I think that was the reason I was looking at the game. I thought, I just fancy something new to play, and I just went into that pass, looked at the games there, and there's a few I've got anyway. But I just thought I really want to give that Lucky Tales a go, because I remember playing that on the Oculus, and I really want to play Halo Wars 2. They give you the whole game, but I think that some of the DLC you would have to pay for, reduced or something like that.
I have to admit, I actually have the full Monty version.
Yeah, but you know what? If I do go away from the Game Pass for a while, maybe, or whatever.
Yeah.
This might come cheap, and I'll pick it up.
Well, I got it cheap. That was why I got the full Monty version. By the way, I've just had a look on my Xbox One X, and I actually have Crackdown. Now, I've never had that digital. That's just appeared.
So I'm telling you, that's what they're doing. So I'm put money on it.
Yeah.
Very clever marketing clause, that.
Yeah, so if you're... Because they're not telling us now when they're giving us free games, are they, anymore?
No, they're not, no. I think it's
and
good.
I wish that they would. Because I think that's an extra bonus for, on a Microsoft sort of side.
So I've got to ask you a question. Because I noticed this yesterday, and I've had another update this morning for the box. Have you noticed the sounds on the Xbox?
No, because I'm not in the preview program anymore.
Okay, because they've changed slightly.
Have they?
They've slightly changed all the different sounds that you have while navigating, and for achievements, and for when your friends pop up. Which I quite like, because it gives it a little bit of newness, if you know what I mean. I've also got when you normally go into your tabs for your games installed and games you've got on the on that menu screen.
Yeah.
There's now a Game Pass menu. There's a Games for Gold menu as well. I'll do a screenshot later tonight, and I'll pass it over to you. You can see what I mean.
Well, I know that on mine there's memberships.
Yeah, that's right. You've got the membership, so there's obviously the 3 different memberships you can have.
Yeah.
But there's also a Game Pass menu now for me, because I've obviously got the Game Pass at the moment. And also a Games for Gold menu.
Really?
Yeah. I never noticed it before until yesterday. So
I think I'm going to have to go back in the preview program, to be honest, because I came out because of Forza 7.
Yeah.
And what happened there?
You did, and you had a bit of a rough ride, didn't you, with that?
Yeah, so I thought when I got the X, I thought I'll come out of it for a while, but I want to see some of this new stuff that's coming out, so I think I'm going to go back in.
Oh, I think it's worth it. It's no problem, There's also some other little tweaks they've done with, like the light and dark settings for your screen.
Yeah.
So you can have a dark background or a white background. You can now set that for a timer. So,
all right.
So if you want, during the daytime, you want the white background, so that's more visible. And then you can change it at a certain time to make it night, so make it a black background for nighttime.
I don't understand why you can't just set the colour that you want.
But you can now set either or, and you can give them a timer how long they're on for.
No, but I mean, if you wanted it purple, for example.
Oh yeah, but this is for looking at the menus. You've got a white background, white on black, and black on white. Yeah. So you can now have them on a timer. So one's for day and one's for night, because it makes it easier during the day than it would do at night, and vice versa.
Right.
So, but yeah, pretty good actually. There's some other treats coming our way. Apparently, they've not mentioned. It's supposed to be really good, but we'll have to wait and see on that.
Well, there's a whole new career for achievements as well, isn't there, coming?
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, I think I better go and start investing in there myself.
If achievements are on there, you want to get on that one.
Oh yes, achievements.
So, I'll give this away now, because obviously we mentioned it last week. Yeah. And because of the way the episode went, we didn't get it out. So, Outlaw 411 has given me a month's Game Pass to give away. Now, this is not the one I used, by the way. I actually went for the 14-day myself.
Yeah.
So, you guys can have this. Now, if any of you, like me, are in like the 2-week pass free, you won't be able to use this. So, as long as you haven't dived in at all in the Game Pass in any shape or form, you'll be able to use this month's free pass.
Yeah.
So, excuse me while I just take a sip of water, because I want to give this out right to the guys. So we have HFCCK T7 GT4 RF42J XG7CD and then the last is YC27Z. So if anyone grabs that, let us know so we can send your feedback to Outlaw. And then next week we'll give an Xbox game away next week as well.
Very good. So, are you disappointed me there, Steve? I thought you were going to do the phonetic alphabet.
No, do you know what? Because sometimes I cock it up, so I thought I better not.
Shall I do it?
If you
Hotel Foxtrot, Charlie Charlie Kilo, Tango 7, Golf Tango 4, Romeo Foxtrot 4-2, Juliet X X-Ray, Golf 7, Charlie Delta, Yankee Charlie 2-7, Z Zebra.
Are you trying to put me down now, something, or what?
I used to work for the police, mate. I know my phonetic alphabet.
I do know. Sometimes you forget one. M4, maniac.
See, the thing is, I can read it really fast. I just can't write it in the same way because I have to go, Z, that's for, oh yeah. So, yeah.
Anyway, do you want to chat us about whatever you got there on your list?
Okay, well, I've got a few. I've this week completed yet another game. And also been playing another couple. So, first one, I'm going to go back to one of my favourite games, which is Elite Dangerous, and it's now Elite Dangerous Beyond Chapter 1.
Why?
Because this is a whole new load of content that has come out.
Okay.
And the great news is, for this new content, it's free for all players. And focuses on a lot of the community requests enhancements to the overall player experience. And it launched on the 27th of February. So it's all brand new stuff. There's a new crime and punishment system to improve the response to players' criminal activities, making open gameplay fairer and more competitive. So you don't get basically people picking off low-ranking players and nicking the cargo. And things like that. There is the introduction of Galnet audio. So if you remember, when you docked at a station, you could look at the Galnet, which was like the universe's internet. And now there's an audio, thing about all of the latest news.
So you can listen to it other than reading it, basically, yeah?
Exactly, yeah. For those of you with the Horizons version of the game, because there is still a difference between the standard and Horizons, you will get new contacts such as tech brokers, dealers of rare tools and technologies to give you the chance to acquire new items based on their personal narrative and experience. And material traders will allow the commanders to convert and exchange materials, making engineering, which the engineers was part of the Horizons.
It was, yeah.
Pack, to be able to unlock missions with tech brokers and make them more accessible.
Okay.
So it'll help you out in that way. There are new improvements to the trade data overlay, helping you to find the most profitable trade routes. So you don't necessarily have to go to external websites anymore. And there's been an overhaul in the mission reward system, which is the main bit that I checked out, to be honest, allowing you to decide between the different rewards, which can include like a large financial reward and a little bit of influence or reputation that you earn as a result of doing it, or more reputation or more influence and less of the others. The other sort of rewards like cash, or you could also get more goods rather than cash or reputation, or a mixture of all of them. So it gives you a bit more flexibility in terms of the way that you want to play. And, there's obviously, I've noticed the first time I've really played it on the Xbox One X as well. And the graphics, it looks phenomenal on that system.
I haven't really gone to it yet, to be honest.
Well, you should do. Just sit in your ship and look at the space station, that you docked in.
Yeah, wherever I am.
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't be able to get out. I haven't played it for so long now. I've probably forgotten all the controls.
I have to admit, because I've got a Python, which is quite a large ship, it was a little bit...
too touch and go.
I was going to say brown trouser moments going through the envelope of the space station when I went on a trip. I thought, oh my God, I'm going to hit, oh, I'm through, sort of thing. But, it very quickly came back. Although I was sat there thinking, I really wish I'd put an autopilot on, but that is cheating.
No, why not? That's what science fiction's all about.
No, it's cheating. And it also takes up cargo space.
Ha, whatever.
Well, I want to maximise my profits.
Yeah, okay.
So, but yeah, it looks really good, does the game. Absolutely beautiful on 4K. So really check it out is my recommendation there, especially if you've already had the game, not looked at it for a while. Get that either physical or digital copy dusted off and get it loaded up, because there's new content in there for you to go at, and there's more to come as well. So they're planning on a few more bits and pieces. All of it's going to more or less be quality of life, but also the other thing as well is now there's an escalating war with the Thargoids, who were the alien races from the original Elite, going back to 1984. So there's new aliens, new weapons. There's a new type of ship you can get as well that's been specifically designed to combat the Thargoids.
Mm-hmm.
So all sorts in there. Matter of fact, I think I might go looking for one of those ships, one of the new ones, see how much they are. Probably don't have enough money because I've only got about 100 million credits. So that's Elite Dangerous Beyond. The next game I've played is a game called Armikrog. Or Armikrog, I should say. And it's a stop-motion point-and-click adventure comedy that's been released on Windows, OS X, Linux, PS4, Wii U, and Xbox One. So it's a good cross-platform game. And basically, it's the spiritual successor to the Neverhood game that was released that also used claymation. So it's very like Aardman kind of animations. Wallace and Gromit and that sort of thing. And you play a character called Tommyknot, who's a space explorer who crash lands on a planet called Spyro 5. And you end up being locked inside a fortress called Armikrog. And that's why it's called the name it is. You're accompanied by your talking and occasionally flying dog called Beak, who is colourblind. So when you go into his character, the world turns black and white.
Oh, okay. That's cool.
Which is it's quite a neat sort of trick, but it does make seeing it quite difficult. But he's able to see in special wavelengths that Tommyknot can't. And basically it's a normal point and click kind of adventure. There are lots of puzzles to sort out. I'm not really sure that the game guides you that well through, but I did complete it. Took a few hours to complete, to be fair. Because essentially when you get to a certain point in the game, you have to revisit several different locations, because there is these all I can really describe them as is alien octopuses who talk to you, but they talk to you in an alien language, and you do something to try. Your part of your quest is about learning how that alien language works, so that you can then read through it, and you can find out information to progress further into the game. And you have to go and revisit them at a certain point in the game as well, just to be able to listen to what they have to say. And then that feeds into unlocking another problem later on. So it's an interesting sort of concept. It's a well-trodden sort of area. The animation's really quite good. However, I think that there's one main problem with this as a game.
What's that?
And that is, it just really wasn't that funny. Because it's supposed to be a comedy. A comedy game.
Did it make you laugh?
No. No. It was one of those ones of I thought, I'm going to play it. Because, I'd got it in a sale and I thought, right, I'll give it a go, see what it's like. And I'd heard it was, 2-3 hours, maybe 4 if you really struggled with some of the puzzles, because there are a couple that are quite confusing in terms of matching up symbols and stuff like that. And if you miss certain things at certain points in the game, you've got to do a lot of backtracking for a couple of the tests that you have to do. So that can cause a little bit of a delay. But I just didn't find it to be that humorous myself. But maybe I'm not the market that it's really aimed at. Like I said, I would say average completion time for a normal gamer would be 2 to 4 hours without a guide, which is about what it took me. And overall, not the best experience, not the worst, but it's something that I would have happily have passed on. I wouldn't play it again.
How much did you pay for it? Was it?
It was on a sale. I can't remember. It would have been about £4 or £5.
Yeah, okay.
But all right. If you like point and click adventures, you might get something out of it. The last game I've got to talk about today is Agents of Mayhem.
Yes, it's a Saints Row clone, isn't it?
No.
Okay.
It's not a clone. As child of, it's probably the better way of describing it. So, it's from Volition, who also produced Saints Row. And you can definitely tell that the game borrows heavily from the series as well. The colour scheme has exactly the same purple, for example. You know how the Saints always had everything purple? Well, this is the same. It's an open world action adventure in a third person perspective, exactly the same as Saints Row. And Agents of Mayhem is also in a shared universes with Saints Row and also the Red Faction series as well, which I never actually realised before. And it's taking place after Recreate Earth ending of Saints Row 4 standalone expansion for Gat Out of Hell.
I never got into these.
See, I was big time into Saints Row 4, not 3. Couldn't stand Saints Row for 3.
I have some on Back Compat or wherever there are in my list, but I don't know what it was. I think it was like trying to do what GTA was, and
no, nothing like. When you first start, it might do, but to be honest, you're playing a game that I would say that Saints Row 4 is more like. Because, well, Crackdown.
Oh, okay.
Because just like in Crackdown, you have orbs which give you extra powers.
Yeah,
so that you can, jump higher, run faster, or whatever.
Yeah.
And that they get to, ridiculous levels. And I loved Saints Row 4 because of all of its homages to the 80s and early 90s. With like Hadaway and things like that played. Yeah. As part of the music. So there's this, on Saints Row 4, there's this one particular bit where you're the president of America who's been captured and you escape, but you're completely naked and you're running around, naked on this spaceship with, then you get rescued and then as you're escaping, it's playing What Is Love by Hadaway. It's, excuse me. It's all in a really good laugh. So, anyway, the game plot for Agents of Mayhem revolves around an organisation known as Mayhem, or the Multinational Agency for Hunting Evil Masterminds. I know it sounds like a really bad B-movie script, doesn't it?
It does, doesn't it?
So it's founded by Persephone Brimstone, a character that you see in Gat Out of Hell. And is funded by the Ultor Corporation, one of the main antagonists of the Saints Row 2 series and Red Faction. later merging with the Saints Row in Saints Row the Third. So it's all tied up together, are these things, and I never realised before that Saints Row was tied up with this. But anyway, not with this, with Red Faction.
Oh, okay.
So Mayhem's goal is to stop the supervillain organisation called Legion, or the League of Evil Gentlemen intent on obliterating nations.
Sounds a bit bat crazy.
Sounds a bit Spectre-ish, really.
Or was the League of Gentlemen? Do you remember with Sean Connery?
Yes, yeah, but no, I think that they thought, well, we can't use Spectre, so let's make up another name. So they figured something out to fit for Legion.
Well, you could have had Smersh, but they might have got copyright on that one.
Maybe. But so Legion's set out to destroy the world. Mayhem's there to protect it. And it takes place in a futuristic version of Seoul, the South Korean city, billed as the City of Tomorrow. And the game features a total of 12 agents that you can choose to complete any of the missions. You can have 3 agents per mission, and you decide which ones that you want to take on that mission. Each agent has their own unique play style and abilities. For example, there's one called Hard Tack, who uses a shotgun as his primary weapon, whereas another one called Hollywood uses a assault rifle. And as you deal damage to your enemies, you accumulate points that fill up your power bar. When the power bar's filled up, you can then use your Mayhem abilities, which are super moves, that greatly aid you in the combat against whoever it is that you're fighting. And in addition to the main campaign, there are also unlocks for unlocking new agents. So, because you start off with 3, and as you progress through the story, you unlock more and more. And then there are other sort of quests and that you can go on as well. It's a good sized map. The graphics look, really good as well. It plays okay. It's not a game that's ever going to set the world on fire with its originality or anything like that, but it's an enjoyable game. And given the fact that this was £10 for the Ultimate Edition of it last week on Games for Gold, I wasn't really going to say no. And you can still pick up the Standard Edition, which, to be fair, just has a few skins difference, for, about a tenner now on disc.
Oh, okay.
So it's well worth having a look.
Maybe I should check this one out then.
I think you should. I think you'd probably enjoy it. Mind you, if you haven't really got into Saints Row, you might not.
No. Well, at the moment, I know. I've got quite a few games on the go at the moment now, so maybe I'll leave it for a while.
Well, isn't Saints Row one of the ones that's on Game Pass?
One of them might well be, but there's also, I've got one from Games for Gold as well.
Yeah, it's Gat Out of Hell on Games for Gold. But I'm sure it's Saints Row 4 on Game Pass, and I think you might enjoy Saints Row 4 actually, probably more so than Agents of Mayhem, because of the pop culture references that are in there.
Yeah. Interesting. I'll have a look at it.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else to add for games this week then, Steve?
No, I'm trying to think. What else have I played? I have played a little bit more of Horizon Zero Dawn, very briefly.
How are you finding that?
I'm just trying to get used to the controls for what you're doing, if you're with me.
Yeah.
It's pretty gradual progression there for what you're using, but sometimes I was a bit, what am I doing now? Where do I go? Where do I see it on the map? I was being a bit thick sometimes, but maybe that's me. But yeah, it's all right. Looks lovely, I must admit. And actually that's a year old now, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
And there's a few, Guerrilla have put up a few free bits and pieces on the PlayStation Store. I think they got some avatars there for you, and a new not screensaver, but they got a new wallpaper for the PlayStation as well.
All right,
you can
okay,
pick
I'll
up.
have to have a look at that.
Yeah, that's all free to get.
Yeah. Cool stuff.
Other than that, I can't think of anything else. I'm sure we'd do normally, but we've got lots to talk about still, so...
Yeah. I mean, I did pick up a game called Energy Cycle.
Yeah.
Which, to be fair, is quite renowned for being quite easy achievements. I'm being honest, I did. So, because it's a couple of quid, basically. And it's a puzzle game where you've got overlapping energy orbs. And if you click on one, it changes the row to a different colour, and they cycle through 3 colours. And if you click on one that crosses between 2 rows, then it'll change both rows accordingly. And the idea is just to make everything the same colour. There are 30 levels. Took me about 30 minutes.
Okay.
But they are, to be fair, some of them are quite, they've got quite a lot of moves in. But they're the type of things of eventually you're going to figure it out no matter how many, times you actually play it.
Yeah.
But a pretty easy 1,000 gamer score for a couple of quid if anybody wants it. But
ask Chef Alan, he might want to catch up a bit,
Yeah, well, he is getting a bit green, isn't it? It goes well with his national colour.
Ooh, I wouldn't want to say that in front of him.
He knows we already made it in jest. But, yeah, I mean, because it was actually interesting. It was that game, Energy Cycle, was given for free, I think, in America.
Okay.
But it's only just become available over here. But I just thought I would check it out because 1 or 2 people had been saying to me about having a look at it. So, like I said, I think it was $2.39, something like that. So it's not a lot of money wasted, but certainly, unless you want 1,000 gamer score quite easy, it's not worth it. Because you're not going to get a lot of play out of that. I've also been playing a bit of Wolfenstein 2, The New Colossus. Yes, I've been playing a Bethesda game. And I'll probably talk more about that next week.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. In that case, then, we'll move on to movies, TV, and streaming.
In quest of a better life.
Okay, so news for things. You've got something from Sky, Steve. Do you want to talk us through that?
Yeah, so Sky have got a new partnership with Netflix. I thought this, my ears sort of pricked up on this one. Now, Sky have announced a new partnership deal which allows subscribers across Europe to access Netflix shows like Stranger Things, House of Cards, and what have you. And while Netflix has already have deals with BT, Virgin Media, and TalkTalk, Sky have been a bit more hesitant to join forces with the streaming giant. However, the new partnership deal, which has been struck, means that shows like Narcos and Black Mirror and The Crown will become available as a part of your new Sky Entertainment package. So that sounds pretty interesting.
So is this going to be like an app on the Sky Q box where you can access the full range of...
I don't know if it may well be. I don't know how they're going to pin it to their, how you have it on the screen yet. But this move, the move was made after Sky discovered that very few customers dropped their Sky package in favour of Netflix. So, with the two varying wildly in price, it'd be interesting to see how this will come up.
See, I think probably where I struggle with this is it seems to be a bad deal for possibly both lots. And both Sky and Netflix. And what I mean by that is this included as part of your entertainment package cost?
Well, I read somewhere else that they were saying that what you can do is you can sign in to your Netflix on Sky.
Yeah.
And also, if you wanted to, you could you could have the payment to how you have it with Sky instead.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's going to be cheaper, or if you've got everything, you're going to get it at a discounted rate, or what. I don't know. I just think we're going to have to wait another couple of months till they give us more information on when it's actually released.
Yeah.
But it might mean that you might get it a bit cheaper, maybe. I mean, I pay $9.99 for mine.
For your
Netflix. Yeah.
Right.
And on the back of that, there's also talk of Spotify coming and HDR support, which would be very interesting.
Well, I can't see why HDR support isn't already there, to be quite honest with you, but...
Yeah, but it'd be interesting to see. Obviously, we do like to occasionally get by a 4K movie. So it'd be nice to see maybe what the difference is, because I'd be saving a few more of them on my hard drive if that's the case.
Yeah.
And also, will they stream HDR support with live TV maybe as well? I don't know. So there's a few questions to be answered yet, but I'm sure it'll all come out in the wash over the next month or two when it gets released. So yeah, interesting, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so that's it for the news. Oh, I suppose that there is not so much as a bit of news as rather more of a reference than anything else. But evidently it would have been James Doohan's 98th birthday.
Yeah, I know.
So for those of you who don't know, that is Scotty from Star Trek. He would have been 98. Today, this Sunday. Had he still been alive, unfortunately no longer with us, but it's always nice to look back and think about all of the good times that we had with him. Not that he ever said it, but you kind of change the laws of physics.
Aye.
You kind of change the laws of physics, Jim.
Oh, we won't start singing the Firms version.
No. Although I must admit, I do love the Firms version. It is such a funny song. But yeah, so just a point a note for that as well. Did you say somebody also? There was been someone who's died as well, hasn't there?
Yeah, sorry, I haven't got it on my other screen. Let me bring it up. So, David Ogden Steers has died. Now, if you know MASH and you know Major Winchester, this is the guy. Unfortunately, he was 75, but you know him probably more for Star Trek. So,
yeah,
if you go back a bit later and Google his what he's done, he was in Next Generation.
Yes,
if you remember rightly. But yeah, I mean they're coming thick and fast now. These actors, aren't they?
That's because we're getting old, man. That's why.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? I mean, because there's a few more still kicking around. I mean, what was I watching the other day? And I was talking to the missus about it. I can't remember it was some TV show or something we was watching. I was saying, God, I can't believe that woman's still alive and she's in her 90s. It's just, people live long, good old ages these days.
Yeah, but, well, I mean, I'm quite sure that we'll be, seeing a lot of bigger names that we've known for a long time disappearing.
Yeah.
In the next 10 years, because there is, who's seen Sean Connery for years?
I know.
We've already lost one Bond, so.
Yeah, he's a bit of a recluse these days, isn't he?
He is. I don't think he's been seen for years in public, really, has he?
No, I'm not saying that we're having a bit of a death note on this or anything, but, people like Clint Eastwood aren't getting any younger, are they?
No. Michael Caine.
Yeah.
Not that we ever want to see them go, but we know that, we're all going to go that way. Because the one thing for sure is you don't get out of life alive.
No, unfortunately, we all end up the same way. 6 feet under.
Yeah. We do. Well, not necessarily. We could be cremated or buried at sea.
Oh, God,
but yeah, anyway, let's not dawdle on the melancholy, shall we? Shall we move on to the cinema releases?
Let's have some less doom and gloom.
Yeah, so cinema releases, 9th of March, we've got Gringo, we've got Mum and Dad, Wonder Wheel, You Were Never Really Here, and Sweet Country. So not really that familiar with any of those ones, are you?
No, I don't think so. Not at all. I saw Gringo advertise the other night, but I didn't really take much attention to it.
No.
But,
no, I can't say I did either.
Mm.
In terms of Blu-ray and DVD and 4K releases, there is again a cast of thousands, but I think one for you, Steve, would be Strike Back Retribution.
Yeah, that's on at the moment.
Yeah, well, that's coming out on DVD shortly. And also, real classic, very much a classic, the Dark Crystal Deluxe Edition on Blu-ray, 4K Blu-ray and DVD.
Well, yeah, that was a, I won't say Muppet movie, but it was a
fantasy, serious Muppet movie,
yeah.
Basically.
Yeah, I'm just looking through that little collection that you've got there, and I can't see anything that really comes to mind.
No, I mean, if people are like Outlander, there's season 1 to 3 or season 3 being released on Blu-ray and 1 to 3 on DVD.
Yeah.
Parents might be interested in Peppa Pig.
Yeah, some certain parents might be.
Yeah. But, not for most of us, I wouldn't have thought. But there's not a lot really coming out on the Blu-ray and DVD in the next week. So let's hope it's a bit better the week after. In terms of the charts, cinema charts for the UK, there is, on number 5, there is I, Tonya. Then we've got 4 is 50 Shades Freed. Number 3 is Lady Bird. Number 2 is The Greatest Showman. And number 1 is, completely unsurprisingly, Black Panther.
Yes. And we might want to quick mention what's on tonight, really, haven't we?
Well, you go on, you go ahead.
So, we got the Oscars.
Yes.
Tonight. So, well, for us it'll be very late night.
It will.
Because I think come the morning at about 7 o'clock we start to hear hear some of the results. I do, back in the day, like to watch this.
Yeah.
But I think I'll probably record it and then be able to just skip the bits I need to skip to,
I have to admit, I think I'll just probably see who's won and look at it on a web page.
Yeah, no, I mean,
be able to... God.
Sometimes you get these little embarrassing moments. It's worth watching.
Yeah.
But I got a funny feeling that we're going to see a lot of this girl power again going through the speeches this year.
Do you know what? For me, I work...
Choose your words carefully.
I am going to choose my words carefully, as you can tell by my pause. I work with women all day. Mm. I do not think of them as being anything other than equals. The organisation that I work, everybody gets equal pay when they're on, that banding of whatever grade of role it is that you're on.
Yeah.
Because they're all predefined. So you don't get paid extra because you're a man or because you're a woman or because, you're having a sex change or whatever it is for whatever reason. Everybody is treated equally as there should be. And so a little bit of me, because I know that some industries are not like that, and some industries are very heavily focused on males rather than females, and it's very difficult for women to break into. But
yeah, I know what you mean. I mean, funnily enough, I saw something advertised on Sky this last couple of days. There's they're going to be putting on Wonder Woman for the premiere. Yeah. And it's during a Women's Week thing or something. Do you know what I mean? So, as much as I'd stand up for them as much as anyone else, yeah, we all get it.
Yeah, of course we do. But I'm just kind of like a little bit sick of hearing it at the same time. I think we should, in terms of anything that anybody is, because there's always a way that you can spin it so everybody's in a minority in some respect.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's there'll be something about you that puts you in a minority of people, no matter who you are, and what you do.
Mm.
So I just think it really is time that, that everybody was treated equally, and that we just moved on from actually putting barriers up there, and I realise that in some industries you probably do have to raise the profile of one sex or another to go, into doing whatever sort of role. But equally, I think by highlighting the issue is actually causing the issue as well. Do you know what I mean? It's sort of... But that is a very probably male-orientated point of view. I'm sure that there's women out there who completely disagree. But as far as I'm concerned, all people are equal. It doesn't matter what you are. But there you go. Anyway, shall we move on?
Mm-hmm.
Movies and TV this week. So, what have you been watching, Steve?
Well, I won't say too much because you haven't watched any of them yet, have you?
No, I don't want spoilers. Thank you.
So, TV this week, I've watched The Flash, DC Legends of Tomorrow, and Arrow all over this weekend. And I'm just going to say that, obviously, you've seen the last episode of The Legends.
Yeah.
And it ended with a guy in a dark shadow with a cigarette. And that northern British accent that he has.
Yeah.
And Constantine is in this episode. And I'm going to say it's fantastic. It's a show that should never have been stopped and taken off air.
No.
But, it's one of those things. But if you've never watched Constantine, the TV show, go and check it out. I'm sure, I think it's around there on Netflix and everything else. But it is fantastic. And that episode was really, I think, out of the three of them for this week, that stood out for me. And The Flash was okay because that's more to do with the court case. Because if you remember the way it ended,
it's an unusual sort of story that they're doing there, isn't it?
Because he's been framed for murder, isn't he? So so that's that episode. And Arrow was a bit meh, but there you go. It's just it's gonna. I'm sure they're going to improve. I
have to admit, I always find Arrow to be a bit meh. I know you love it, but it's just not. I can't get into it. I struggle with it. I watch it, or I try to. I'm a couple of seasons behind, and I keep watching it, but I just don't feel it in the same way as the others.
Well, I mean, I watched it from the beginning, so I've sort of kept it going. But I think my favourites are Legends and The Flash, to be honest.
Yeah.
And I think The Flash deserves more recognition than probably Justice League ever did.
Yeah.
But hey ho, yeah. What about yourself? Any TV this week?
Yes, the Orville.
Oh, they're all sitting on my box still, aren't they? Just stacked up at the moment.
And you have really got to get going on this.
Mm.
You've really got to get going. Now, it's just finished. It's airing. Okay, for season 1. So I'm just going to give my thoughts on season 1.
Okay.
And I'm not going to do any spoilers, so don't panic about that.
No, because I've only seen probably 1.5 episodes. So.
Yeah. So, and you won't be familiar with the characters or anything like that. So, as I said, this is just finished on Fox. And as a show, I've absolutely and completely enjoyed this. It's been a perfect blend of episodic Star Trek and Family Guy humour. Story-wise, I think that for a first season, they've done well in keeping the Star Trek-esque sort of tone, with some of the more moral stories, that, the Next Generation sort of tackled.
Okay.
So, for example, one of the characters, who is called Bortus, who sort of like looks a cross between a Klingon captain and a pile of poo. Because his ridges on his head do kind of look more like poo than anything else.
I know the character you're talking about. Because that's the episode I'm on at the moment about his,
Yeah. Well, obviously he comes from an all-male species, and they procreate by hatching eggs. So they have the male sat on the egg, and it goes through a couple of episodes, well, an episode where he's sitting on the egg right throughout the whole episode. And then it hatches, and there is something which then starts to kick off something for the next episode, and it's very interesting.
Okay.
And if you watch it, you will look and you'll say, if you put Jean-Luc Picard there, this could have been Star Trek. Just because of the way that show goes. I don't want to say any more because I don't know exactly where you are.
Yeah, I think I'm on episode 2 or episode 3.
Well, I think this is episode 3.
Okay.
So I don't want to spoil it for you. So I'm not going to say any more than that. I think that the show could have been, there's other episodes in there as well. It could have been transplanted from the Next Generation. So there's the last episode of the season has a scenario that is very familiar to the Prime Directive. And Isaac, who is the android one, the one with the glowing white eyes and he's all silver otherwise.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, him. He's part of that solution. That's not telling you anything anything there because it's about the story about how they get there. But that I was watching it, I was thinking you could have just put Data there, and you could have had that exact same thing with like Riker or Crusher or someone being the spark and Data being the resolution to that. And it's so well done. And I think one of the other things as well is that it's got such a peppering of pop culture in there as well. There are so many Easter eggs and references in there. Some are right in front of your face and some are not so obvious, and you kind of like look at it and you go, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's so good. And you can also tell that this has been a bit of a labour of love for Seth MacFarlane as well, who obviously wrote, produced, directed and stars in the show. Because he's had a lot of the time you can just see he's sort of like the way that a 5-year-old looks, ooze with excitement when they see the hero for the first time in real life.
Yeah.
Well, he kind of like has that look because he's playing his heroes, sort of thing. You can just tell that he's actually enjoying the role. And what is quite nice about this as well is where Discovery, for a lot of its run this season, and I'm not being negative to Discovery here, but opted for realism over the optimism of previous Star Trek. The Orville keeps the whole optimistic future so well while keeping it grounded on a weekly theme, in the ways that is more Star Trek, than you would have expected for the Orville, I think, because everybody originally thought this is going to be Galaxy Quest. And it's not Galaxy Quest at all.
No, I was thinking on that route, to be honest.
Yeah, it's not. It is more akin to the Next Generation than anything, I think. After what getting right through the whole of the season, the pacing, the music, the slightly camp but entertaining stories that are in there as well. And this isn't going to be the show for everyone. I'm not going to lie to you. If you don't like Star Trek, you ain't going to like this. Or I can't see you liking this, to be honest.
Yeah.
It is more adult humour in parts. There are some episodes which are alright, and I've let my son watch because of basically the PG sort of rated, but there were some of them which I wouldn't let him watch. So, for example, there's the captain's number 1 is his ex-wife, who cheated on him with a blue guy. And that guy comes back in a future one, and there's all sorts of things happening, and there's nothing explicitly sexual, but lots of sexual references and one particular scene, and I thought, no, I'm not letting my son watch this. And, you know, there is a bit of foul language in there as well, but, you know, what that doesn't really matter that much. You know, half of the time, especially, you know, with kids, they teach you more swear words than you know anyway.
Don't they just?
You know, the latest ones that people are actually saying in that. But yeah, I've really completely enjoyed the Orville. I think it's been absolutely first class as a brand new TV series. Just like Discovery was first class in its own respect, this has been as well, but in a completely different way. And it kind of like scratches the other shoulder of your sci-fi itch. Do you know what I mean?
You see, I'm never really a fan of Family Guy, to be honest.
I can't say I'm a great fan of Family Guy.
So from that point of view, it didn't
resonate.
No. But from the sci-fi point of view, I can see that, you know, obviously. But
yeah, I mean, do you get that feeling of the Next Generation from it?
Yeah, I get a feeling of a few things that are thrown into that. Even I still think a bit of Galaxy Quest to a certain degree, just because of the type of ship it looks like. You know,
do you think so?
Yeah, but as I say, I've only watched 2.5 episodes, so I'll probably, you know, maybe that'll change as I get to see them all.
I think, to be honest, if anything, the ship reminds me of a cross between Voyager and A Woman's Handbag.
Yeah,
you know, with the quantum drive nacelles at the back, it looks more like, you know, they've laid a woman's handbag on its side, and the handles, the quantum drive sort of thing. But I've really enjoyed this as a show. But I know that not everybody has. I know it's, you know, had mixed receptions, particularly the earlier episodes. There is going to be changes in the crew for the next show as well.
Yeah.
You know, for season 2, I think I can't remember the name of the actress that's coming in, but the security officer, you know, the young woman who's got more power, is more powerful than anybody else on the ship, and she's probably the shortest one. Evidently, she might be going from it, which is a bit of a shame. But yeah, I thought it was a good show, but you know, I don't think you have to get the humour though, do you?
No,
or
I don't think
feel
so.
that?
It depends if you're a sci-fi fan, though. To be honest.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to be sci-fi for it.
Yeah, and that's sort of where, you know, everyone sees it differently.
Yeah.
From their own point of view. But yeah, I mean, it's done well in the States, so yeah, season 2 won't be far behind, I'm sure.
Well, let's hope not, because I can't wait to see what happens next.
But my missus hates it. Honestly, she does. She says, "What's this rubbish?" You know, she doesn't get it.
Yeah. To be honest, I didn't even bother showing my missus this, because I just know that she wouldn't get it.
Yeah.
As the way that she always describes it, if they're just gallivanting about in space. That's her favourite figure of speech, because she knows it winds me up. So that's the main part of TV that I've watched this week.
Yeah.
Should we go on to the movie you watched?
2 movies, yeah.
Or 2 movies, yeah.
So the first one is a favourite of mine, and it has been sitting on my box for a while, and I haven't seen this for a long time. And this film was made in 1976, and it's called Marathon Man. Have you heard of it?
Yeah, I have. Isn't it a guy who eats Snickers? No, I know it's not.
I shouldn't even have asked you that question, should I?
No, you shouldn't have, because you gave me the leeway in. Thank you very much.
I know. So this stars Dustin Hoffman.
This is a one that you don't watch if you're afraid of going to the dentist.
No, I wasn't going to mention that bit, but you're very true. So Dustin Hoffman, Laurence Olivier, and Roy Schneider. I think this is the one Roy Schneider did just before he did Jaws. So Dustin Hoffman's character, he's a Columbian graduate and a long-time distance runner, and his brother is involved with the government, and they're chasing a Nazi war criminal who is Laurence Olivier, and something happens in this, which then throws Dustin Hoffman's character knee deep in the intrigue of the government with this war criminal, and there's also some stolen gems and diamonds that are involved.
Yeah,
and even his girlfriend becomes a suspect. He doesn't know who to believe or what. But being a marathon man as he is, that does help him in one point of the film. But it's a really good thriller. It's one of those I think that should never be remade.
It's a classic.
It is, and the term of phrase "is it safe?" If you've seen this movie, you would totally understand what I'm saying that for. But it's a super film, and there's not a lot of action in it. It's more about what happens to the people and what happens to him, with his brother and the government and that. It's just a classic 70s movie, well worth a visit. And it's sitting. If you've got Sky Movies, you can see it sitting in there. You can search for it and have a look. I would certainly recommend it. But if you're not a fan of sort of the older movies, then maybe not. But I would say definitely give it a go. And the next movie only came on Sky just last night on Sky Cinema, and this is Baby Driver.
Yeah.
Now, when I spoke to you earlier about this, you sort of woe is me with this movie. Definitely not your cup of tea. Now, I didn't know anything about this film. All I knew that Edgar Wright directed it, and if you're familiar with him, he did Hot Fuzz, Shaun of the Dead, and At the World's End. The three, the trilogy of Cornetto movies, as they call it, with Simon Pegg. But this one's starring Ansel Elgort, Kevin Spacey, and a few other characters, but also Jamie Foxx. So there's a pretty good cast there. So Baby is a getaway driver in Atlanta, Georgia. And when he was a child, he had a car accident which killed his parents, but left him with tinnitus. Which, if you're not familiar with that, it gives you like a humming and drumming in your ears.
Yeah.
So what he does to block it out is just to constantly listen to music on his iPods. And at the same time, he's ferrying crews of robbers around by this main kingpin, Doc, who's played by Kevin Spacey. And he's doing these driving during these crimes to pay off a debt he incurred from stealing one of his cars. And in between jobs, he sits there recording the people's voices and puts them to remixes on cassette tape. And he also, at the same time, he's got a deaf foster father who he looks after.
When is this set?
Now.
But he's using cassette.
He does, yeah. He uses cassettes. He mixes tapes and puts them on cassette. And he then there's a love interest as he goes to one of these diners and meets Deborah, who he starts dating. But this, I didn't know much about it, but now I've seen it. It's such a fantastic movie. The way they got the music linked to, because obviously when he's driving all the time, you have all the music going all the time, and they've linked it with when he changes gear, the beat of the music. All of this while he's being chased by the police, while he's doing a job for Doc, while he's ferrying around these robbers, being a getaway driver. Thoroughly, I'd recommend this to anybody. Obviously not you though, Haydn, because it's not your cup of tea, is it?
I don't know. I just watched the trailer of this and I just thought, I don't fancy the look of it. I'll probably watch it and actually completely enjoy it. But...
It's got homage to something like the Blues Brothers, for example. And, and there's just all these different sort of movies you probably could pinpoint that it does deal with. And it even feels like a bit of a musical with all the music. It's very heavily music orientated. And it's a great soundtrack as well, with what they're using, all this original score, with all the different artists that he's listening to. But it's amusing at some point. You go through all the different emotions with his character, but fantastic. And I think it's even up for an award tonight in the Oscars as well.
All right.
So it'll be interesting to see. But yeah, if you got Sky Cinema, it came out just last night. I think this came out October last year. So that's less than 6 months, I believe.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because I thought Sky would have a 6-month window for movies. but obviously they're sort of shortening that each time now.
I have a feeling it came out quite quickly to Blu-ray.
Oh, did it? Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a good action flick. It's got everything in it. Well worth watching. I mean, I'd seen Ansel Elgort before, but didn't realise. But that was in one of these movies for women, should I say?
Yeah.
Which was Fault Among the Stars, which I quite enjoyed actually. Don't ask me why, but that just went with me, that film. But yeah, brilliant. I can't praise that more than enough, and I have now hit that kept button on my Skybox to keep it.
Yeah.
So I can probably watch it again at some point.
Mm.
And what about
I might check it out when it comes onto Netflix or something like that.
Do. It is a fantastic movie. It really is. I mean, I haven't watched a good crime caper for a while. But it's class. Really is a good film. Really good.
Yeah.
So, and you got one movie to talk about, have you?
I have, and I've also got something that was streaming as well. So I've been streaming from Sky, The Walking Dead still. So I'm slowly getting my way through them on about season 3 now, and I've actually caught up with Michonne.
Oh, you know who she is now, don't you? Yeah.
Yeah, so seen her in action, and also Sonique Martin Green has also entered the show now as well.
From Star Trek Discovery.
Yes, from Disco.
Yeah. I bet that must seem weird seeing her in that now, after watching that first, you know.
Yeah, it is a bit weird because her character's obviously very different.
Yeah.
Between the two shows.
Oh, absolutely.
But like I said, I've only just started seeing her because they've turned up at the prison. She came with another group.
Okay, yeah, you're at the prison part of the show. All right, yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah, so that's where I am at the moment. But while I'm trying to binge watch it, I'm trying not to overdose on it so that I can absorb it a little bit better. Because I think there are some fundamental gaps in my knowledge for Game of Thrones because I sort of like just binged watched that in a week. More or less.
Well,
2 weeks.
There's a lot of episodes to Walking Dead, and there are some highs and lows in the series.
Yeah.
Especially with from one season to another, sometimes it gets I think it goes down a bit occasionally, and that's why for me I never really watched it at a certain point. When you get there, you gotta talk about it, but maybe I'm about 2 seasons behind now.
Yeah.
I may go back to it. Just, I don't know.
So I'm about 3 seasons behind where you are.
Yeah.
So probably caught up by the end of the month.
Probably.
Yeah. But no, I'm enjoying it, and it's funny, but Game of Thrones was exactly the same. Wasn't bothered. I'll watch it now and enjoying it. So I don't know whether or not I've been subconsciously keeping it for myself to binge watch or what.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Anyway, moving on. The film I've watched this week is, drum roll, Thor Ragnarok. Really enjoyed this.
I've got no inclination to watching this at the moment for some reason.
Oh, man, really? Have you seen this?
Not yet. No, I haven't.
Right. Well, you should.
I mean, I've seen the trailer, so I got a bit of an idea. And I know this is probably the biggest comedy that Marvel have ever done.
Well, I don't know. There was the laugh a minute, The Last Jedi, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But that wasn't quite. That was still Disney, but it wasn't Marvel. I mean, because I picked this up on 4K Blu-ray, and yes, I know that it's an upscaled 4K. It's not true 4K, but the original source material was shot in 6.5K.
So, what do you think of the quality of the disc?
Oh, it's brilliant. It's really nice quality. To be honest, the pixels are getting that small, and my eyesight's deteriorated. I've got to get some glasses, but I find it difficult to tell the difference between a really well rendered upscale and normal 4K.
I think it depends on the movie, first of all, and what content's in the film, because if you've got like a sci-fi movie with loads of bold colours compared to a drama which has got just the colours of Earth as we know it, and the land. I think it makes a bit of difference.
Yeah, I mean, I can, where it's sort of like hardware upscaled, I can tell the difference. But where it's a 2K movie being rendered up to look like a 4K movie, I can't really tell the difference that well.
Well, I mean, even to be honest, I mean, the TV for me, my TV upscales as well anyway, so, it's all a bit, bit of one or the other, to be honest. It's like between, I think the best disc so far has been Terminator, believe it or not.
I really want to get that.
I mean,
that's one I've got on my list to get.
I mean, Valerian looks fantastic.
So what does?
Valerian looks fantastic.
Oh yes, yeah, it does, because I've got that on 4K now.
And so does Wonder Woman.
I haven't got that on 4K.
Yeah, but yeah, there's a few I'd like to have, but I could be talking for hours about what movies I want to get. It's all down to cash at the end of the day, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, just going back to Thor Ragnarok, why I like this is, colour-wise, it is really very, very bold in terms of the way it looks. It's taken heavily from comic, or graphic novel, whatever you want to call it, from the comic source material, and translated that so well onto screen. There are a lot of those, bits of humour right throughout the whole of the film, and the humour is actually quite good, but it's paced out. It's not all in one, or whatever. So you can enjoy it. It's not, and it doesn't feel quite as forced as The Last Jedi did, for example.
But I think we're dealing with Chris Hemsworth here, who plays his character so good.
Well, he's played it so many times now as well. I mean, granted, less than a lot of the other Avengers, but he's still, a good few movies in.
Yeah, and he's just so good at it, I think, and that is his character. They could never give it to anyone else. Yeah.
And, I mean, it's really nice to see the whole sort of like Planet Hulk-esque sort of environment as well, because it's not Planet Hulk, but it's that sort of thing as well. So it's really got good imagery there. I think Mark Ruffalo, who plays Banner, is brilliant in the role. I really wish they would give him a standalone Hulk movie. He needs that, definitely, because he plays that role so well.
I mean, we've had a few of those, haven't we?
We have, but, we've had two completely different actors playing the role of Banner in two movies that only a quarter referenced each other and seemed to be in different universes, because the Hulk was different in both films.
Yeah, I know. They've not. I mean, maybe they will go down that route of giving us a Hulk movie.
I don't think that they're going to, because I think they seem more intent on raising the profile of some of the other superheroes. It's just like, I don't think we're ever going to see a Black Widow film, which is a great shame.
Well, I think there was talk of that, though, wasn't there? I think that was on the cards.
No, I'm not. I think there was. I think there's been plenty of people saying it's about time Black Widow had her own film, but I don't think that they've ever seriously considered it.
Yeah,
from what I've heard. But Mark Ruffalo, he plays that whole Jekyll and Hyde fight in the conflict so well.
Yeah.
I think. So anyway, the music on the film as well is really very, well, it's absolutely perfect. It goes perfect with the graphical style, and it's very sort of like 80s, Trials of the Blood Dragon sort of, neon disco-y kind of music, a lot of it as well.
Yeah.
So it's just an entertaining film. And also links more into, some of the lovely nods in there about, what happens in the comics with Odin, where he was and that, and then they go to Earth, the appearance of Benedict Cumberbatch's Doctor Strange in the film. Oh, brilliant. I mean, his character has quite obviously come on tremendously since the end of his last movie. With the magic he was using on it.
Oh, do you know what? I've still got that attached to my Skybox. That one. I just love that. I love that movie.
Well, that was my favourite Marvel movie. And now this has replaced it. I just think they've done such a really good job with this movie, because the other Thor movies were a bit meh, whereas this isn't.
What do you reckon to the Ant-Man and the Wasp, though? I mean, I'm not really too much in love with that movie yet.
No. I'm not really feeling a big buzz about it. So, I don't know.
Well, I mean, there's going to be loads to come. I'm hoping that DC are going to pull their finger out as well. I just... They're going to have to do something really drastic with DC, because Justice League was not very good. It wasn't as bad as Batman versus Superman, but DC seems to suffer from a great deal of identity crisis. Their TV arcs are stronger than their film arcs. They need to be learning from what they're doing in the TV and apply it to movies. Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping they'll do a Flashpoint movie.
Well, I think that's going to be the focus of the Flash's movie, isn't it? But no, I just find the whole DC universe, it's sadly lacking. They've. I think there's two ways you can argue this. Is that they are miles behind Marvel, who have been doing this for 10 or 15 years, producing these movies where there are loads of them now, so they've really got the experience there.
Yeah.
Or the other way of looking at it is they've seen the Marvel movies and they've had the time to develop something even better and have failed miserably.
Well, I think,
they're both ends of the spectrum, and I think the truth is somewhere in between, to be quite honest.
I mean, it's frightening to know that now there is if you go and check it out, there is a superhero movie release date from 2018 to 2022.
Yeah.
It's just ridiculous.
But is it though?
It's like a roller. It's like a juggernaut that's going on. This is including DC and Marvel, but
you think about how long it takes to make a film.
Yeah.
It takes years. You've got to do the hiring. You've got to do the costumes. You've got to write the script. You've got to get the finances. You've got to get it directed. You've got to cut it. You've got to put the special effects in. All of that, it takes a heck of a lot of time. So, and they need to be planning in advance, because, especially where they've got interlinked stories. Because
the Avengers have got 4 movies coming out now in a long period of time.
Yeah.
And you've got Captain Marvel thrown in the mix as well now, and all sorts. It's going to be mental, to be honest. I mean, don't get me wrong, I do love the Avengers. But yeah, just too much of a good thing sometimes can hurt.
Yeah, I think what we'll find is Bucky will become Captain America. Because he does in the comics. And I think that what we'll actually see is, in terms of Captain America, Chris Evans' character getting killed, and Bucky will take up that mantle, because if you want to know why I think that, just watch the end of Black Panther,
which you haven't seen yet. Thanks for that.
Which you haven't seen yet. Well, no. To be honest, it's not going to give you the reveal that I'm suggesting. But there are references in there, and you look up those references that happen in that bit, and that's where I think you'll get to as well. Because in the comics, the Winter Soldier does become Captain America, or Bucky does. And also, Falcon becomes Captain America at one point as well.
Yeah.
So, there's more than one Captain America. The new first Avenger, as it were.
Yeah, okay.
But, I mean, if you like the Marvel movies, this is a must-see. It's Thor Ragnarok, taking it back to where we started off.
Yeah.
Completely enjoyed that. Brilliant movie. Definitely worth watching. So, okay.
No, I mean, I look forward to seeing it. I will see it. So I might even wait now because it won't be far off before it comes out on Sky anyway. I mean, it's in Sky. It's in Sky's movie store at the moment.
It is.
So it won't be too far now. When it goes from there to the next stage, I'll be able to see it. But we'll see.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Okay, so I don't have anything else on movies, TV, and streaming this week. Do you?
No.
Okay, well, in that case, then we'll move on to our big debate.
There was something missing.
So now it's time to talk about our special debate for the week. And this week, what we're going to be looking at is our best toys as a kid. So I think this is something that we can all very much appreciate because I'm sure we've all got our favourite toys from when we were little uns. So, Steve, do you want to start off with what your favourite toy was?
Okay, well, one of the first ones, I mean, funnily enough, our ages we do have an age gap between the two of us.
Yeah.
So probably some of the toys I have came out while you probably was in nappies, I would have thought. I'm not really sure if that would be the case, but...
Well, yeah, I mean, some of them, when you were like, 6 or 7, I would have been in nappies because of, just that age difference. But so, I'm sure some bits.
I think a lot of them will be known for some, some shape or form anyway.
Yeah.
So my first one you can still buy now, and that's the Space Hopper.
Oh God, yeah, I remember those bouncing around. I had one for my son actually.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah, I got one for my son, and he spent ages just bouncing about in the living room.
There's a knack to playing on that and just jumping around, I think, to be honest.
Yeah.
It wasn't easy. If your feet were a bit short, you wouldn't be able to hold on to it right. And you'd be bouncing off all the time.
Part of it was about how much you inflated it as well, wasn't it?
Mm. Well, I always inflated it to the max, I think.
Yeah, because if you inflated it too much and your legs weren't long enough, then you'd have problems. But if you just inflated it enough, it'd be fine.
Yeah, it's. I don't know what they cost these days. I think they were quite expensive at the time. But it's like you get now. You get every year. There's the must-have toy,
yeah,
or the one that everyone must have to be in with the group and that. And Space Hopper was definitely one of those. Yeah,
going up and down the street on your Space Hopper.
Yeah. And who designed that face in the front? It wasn't exactly pretty, was it?
No, it wasn't, unfortunately.
I don't think they did pink ones for girls. I think everyone had the orange one.
Yeah. Did you ever do races with them?
Yeah, we had all sorts. But I think at the time I was in a little flat with my mum and dad, so space with a Space Hopper didn't exactly go, but... I used to get out on the main road.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I reckon that the people who created Space Hoppers also saw a bit of a market in terms of all these people grew up with Space Hoppers. If we take away the ears so that they can't hold on and take away the face, then we'll call them an exercise ball.
Well, just to be quick, they do a pink one, which has got a completely different name, and I think it's just based on it. But yeah, they range from $9.99 to about $13.99 now.
Yeah.
So I think this was a bit of I think this had a UK following. Not sure whether the States got involved with it at all, or...
Yeah, I mean, I think it's very much part of that 80s pop culture, really, isn't it? Because that's really when they hit the ground, I would have said.
And it was patented by an Italian company back in 1968.
It's really that long ago?
Yeah, and so the United States started getting them about 1971, and they called it the Pon Pon. But quite an old piece of memorabilia there.
Yeah, but interestingly enough, still quite popular today. Not to the extent it was when, obviously, when we were kids, but
no. I think just due to I think technology and the way things have gone. You know, it's not electronic. It doesn't plug into a socket somewhere, and you touch it with your hand, and you look at it all day long. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Real
shame.
Well,
everything's electronic nowadays, isn't it?
Yeah. So I was
going to say that, but there seems to be a bit of a revivalist thing of parents now trying to get the children off electronic gadgets. Whereas when you think about it, when we were kids, parents tried to put you on them.
Well, see, some of the ones we had those days, I mean, we had the ones with the AA batteries, which would just be like a handheld device, maybe if you were lucky. But I think the term battery is not included. It's quite apt these days, isn't it?
Yeah, I do think, just thinking about this discussion about best toys for kids, I think saying about maybe some of the little handheld electronic games is fine, but as long as they don't have like a screen or it's like, you know, miniature Space Invaders or whatever, because that's really going back into console, isn't it? We're looking at more toys.
Oh yeah, no, I don't think any of the toys I mention don't own a battery. So they are definitely toys and not. I mean, we could. I mean, as kids, we probably had mini TV consoles of some kind, like, you know, when we started playing gaming. But these are all things that were round and about that were not plugged in via any electrical socket.
Yeah.
You know. So yeah. So that's. I could have put loads of things in otherwise, but no, that's, you know.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Go. So what's your first one then?
Well, my first one, I'm just going to go straight for the jugular on this one, I think, and that's got to be, when I think about my childhood, Star Wars figures.
What a surprise.
What a surprise. Well, Star Wars stuff generally, to be quite honest, because I had it all. I mean, I had loads and loads of stuff. I had certainly all of the first 2 or 3 waves of the Kenner figures, or the Palitoy figures.
Yeah.
Depending upon how they were branded, wasn't it? Because they're either Kenner or Palitoy. So I had all of them right up until, I think, about halfway through The Empire Strikes Back, and then I started weaning off them. I think I was getting a bit too old to be playing with toys at that point, and I was more into, you know, my Commodore 64. But I had all of them, including, you know, like Boba Fett, the very difficult to get hold of one. Not the one with the rocket launch, because while that did exist, it was never actually on sale. But I know I remember writing off for that, collecting all of the name cards, you know, because you had to have something like 10 name cards of Star Wars toys, and then you used to send it off, and you got Boba Fett because he hadn't been on at the cinema at that point. He had only been on the Star Wars Christmas special, which you can only watch on a very poor quality YouTube video because George Lucas hates it.
It is dire, though, to be honest. Without going off topic, it is pretty awful.
It is, yeah. Absolutely agree. But yeah, I had loads of figures. I had a cardboard Death Star, which was probably about 2.5, 3 feet across in a, you know, half dome.
Right, okay.
And it had a trash compactor where you could crush them. Had the landing area for where the Millennium Falcon was. It had the little room where they hung out when they first went into the Death Star. Had everything right down to, you know, the chasm to swing across in there. And that, you know, that's fantastic. And they actually still have it as well with the box.
That's pretty cool, isn't it?
That is pretty cool, yeah. What state it's in, because it's in the attic, it might be pretty bad, but...
The thing is, then you weren't the type to say, you took them out of their plastic or cardboard cups and you would then play with them. You never sort of kept the boxes.
Oh, I always kept my parents very much, you know, keep the boxes and then we'll put them in the, you know, when you stop playing them for a little bit, we'll put them in the box and then stick them in the loft. When you want them again, we'll get them down again. Just to save a bit of space on the house. I think that was their idea. It's not like nowadays where you just get rid of the box because I haven't got the space for the box even in modern houses. Yeah, so I had that. I had the Millennium Falcon. I had Luke's X-Wing. I had the Land Speeder. I had a Snow Speeder. I had an AT-AT and I had an AT-ST. Oh, and the Super Star Destroyer as well, Darth Vader's Star Destroyer. Yeah. And Darth Vader's TIE Fighter.
So
I had loads.
See, at your age, with you obviously getting into Star Wars then.
Oh, I was where it was aimed at.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And with the way that they were marketing products, this is probably one of the first times. Even though I don't think the real big product marketing campaigns that we have now didn't really start till Batman came out, years later.
Yeah,
where you would get lunchboxes and duvet covers and all sorts of stuff that's related to the TV show or movie or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think, you had to wait. If I remember rightly, you bought the voucher and it wasn't even built, was it? They didn't even make them then. You got the voucher. I think they came out after Christmas, didn't they? Was it just before Christmas?
It was something like that, yeah. But to be honest, I'm too really young to remember about worrying about that sort of stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
But I do remember there used to be in Middlesbrough, and anybody from the Middlesbrough area who's about my age will have remember this shop down a street called Linthorpe Road, which is quite, a well-known street in Middlesbrough. Near the Cleveland Centre, there was an old toy shop, which was on, ground and first floor. It was quite a big one. It was called Roma Parish. It's not there now. It's now actually a Noble Amusements arcade. But that used to be where I used to go, and I used to have a whole section of Star Wars figures and dedicated Star Wars toys. And every week we'd go, my parents would take me to Middlesbrough. And for being dragged through all of the clothes shops that my mother insisted on going in like bins and stuff like that, and looking at perfume and looking at jewellery and looking at all of this, all of the boring stuff that you were as a kid going, oh God, I just want to die. My reward, if I was good, would be I would be taken to Roma Parish and I would get a Star Wars figure. And also I was quite a sickly kid. I was anemic and stuff like that. Looking at me now, you would never think, but I was. And in Northallerton, which is nearer where I live now, when I used to go to the hospital there for regular checkups, there was actually a place, or there still is a place called Grover's. And funnily enough, the owner of the shop used to live over the road from me when I moved where I am now. Yeah. He's since moved, but I used to go there. My mum and dad used to take us there as well, and used to, if I went to the hospital, come out, and then I would go to Grover's and get a Star Wars toy. So consequently, I had loads of them. But they were my probably go-to toy. I remember those pedal cars that you used to get. Do you remember the ones I mean? You used to sit in them and then pedal them. Normal cars. I don't mean Star Wars. I mean, ones that you did as a kid.
Oh, when you had the police car and stuff like that. And,
well, I had like a pickup truck or whatever. But what I did with mine is used to pretend it was the Jawas Sandcrawler.
Okay.
And then I got a piece of string and I tied my land speeder to the back of it, and I would go up and down the street with my land speeder being dragged along, or on all of the concrete or whatever, or the tarmac down the street. And I was thinking that really went through a lot of Hammer. Did that land speeder, but I've still got it, but it's scratched all over. I mean, nobody would want it. And my X-Wing as well, because you remember on the films, they were always really aged. As a kid, when he got them, it was like brilliant white plastic. It looked nothing like the film. So I used to stick it in the dirt and stuff like that to try and make it look more authentic to being an X-Wing. So you think about how much you abuse it. And if you do, as an adult, you would cringe, but
I can imagine, yeah.
But you used to do these things, didn't you? Because you wanted it to look like the source material, so.
Oh, God, yeah.
That was a good laugh, was it, having those. But anyway, so what's your next one then, Steve?
So the next one, I was a bit of an artist as a kid. Used to love drawing and all sorts. And there was something called Spirograph.
Oh, I remember this. I had this.
Did you have this? Yeah. So, for people that haven't heard of it, basically you would have these plastic moulded pieces which would have holes in and pins round them. You would have a major plastic frame which you would then put your pen inside it, and then you would roll the piece of plastic through the grooves, and as you rolled round, it would then give you these sort of Spyro-looking designs.
Yeah.
And I spent hours and hours with this.
Yeah. Because you used to stick the nibble, you felt tipping, didn't you?
That's it, yeah. And as the cog would follow around the design that you were using, because they would all be different shapes and sizes, so it would then give you this illusion of this sort of magical looking drawing that you would be putting together.
Yeah.
I don't think this is one that would appeal these days. Maybe, I don't know. It's difficult.
I think it probably would, and I think they still do sell these sort of things, but obviously because there's more distractions, I think that they play a smaller place in the market.
Yeah. Well, do you know what? They do still sell it. I'm just looking on Amazon now as you were talking then.
Yeah.
And you can buy a set for $10.99, a 27-piece original Spirograph set deluxe.
I might get my son one of those, and because it's reminded me how much fun there was, and he'd love doing that sort of thing.
Yeah, there's a few different types of sets, and also you can buy extra Spirograph design sets as well.
Yeah.
But I was fascinated by that as a kid. It's the same as one thing we used to do, how'd you put it, when we was at school, when we used to go into one of our lessons in art craft, we'd be given a sheet of ply, and then you'd sort of hammer in these tacks, leaving about an inch of the tack available, and then you'd start with you'd have this sort of like thick cotton, which would start in one point on the first tack, and then you would go around all these different pins that you've made up to make a design.
Yeah.
And then you would sort of spray it gold or something like that. Do you remember doing that?
Not so much. I know what you mean, but I don't think I did that much.
But that was in the same sort of realm with Spirograph.
Yeah, it was.
So what's your next? What have you got next that you're going to throw at me that maybe I won't remember?
Okay. Big Track. Remember this?
Now, I did have, which I haven't actually added in here, I did used to have a Hot Wheels set.
No, Big Track. It's not Hot Wheels.
Okay, so what was this all about?
Right, well, what Big Track was this, say about foot long, 6-wheeled vehicle that you could program, and it would move by how much you programmed it. So, for example, you could say, go forward 3 lengths of Big Track. Because you basically you went by the distance of like the length of the Big Track. So you would say go forward 3, and you type that in, and then you would tell it to rotate by 45 degrees, and then reverse up, and then shoot a laser. And if you had the posh version, you also had something you could attach to the back, which would then be tip up the trailer and stuff like that. Now, to be honest, I don't think I actually had it, but I always loved it. Yeah. Because I had friends who had it. But, and this is the real thing, when my son was about the age when it came out, when it came out for me, I bought it for him because it did a re-release sort of thing, and he loves it, and he's still got it. And the great one was, because you could program it in, and this one came with a can holder, so you could put it on the back. So what we used to do is challenges of, let's see if we can try and program it so that it, so we could carry a can from where we were to our chair. And basically, what I liked about it, as a parent, to be honest, I thought this was quite a good toy because it did actually make kids, deconstruct the movements, and obviously mathematics is involved and stuff like that as well, because you're thinking, well, okay, how many times does it have to go forward before it needs to turn right? So then you'd have to work out, well, that's like 5 big tracks. Okay, 5 forward, and then how many degrees does it have to turn? It has to turn 90 degrees, so it's a good toy for teaching children how to, work out the spatial awareness. So I really, thought it was a fantastic little thing. Plus, it looked quite cool as well. Yeah. Well, I think that someone has actually put in on the page, the Facebook page, about Big Track as well. Let me have a look. Yeah, Mark Sharman has actually put it in. So if you have a look on Facebook group, then you'll see what Big Track was. You might recognise it from there.
Okay. I've just seen one of the devices there. See, I was thinking it was an actual physical track, but it's not, is it?
No, it's a vehicle.
Yeah.
But it's got big tracks. So that's why it's called Big Track. Surprisingly enough.
Yeah. Now, you saying that, there's a toy I haven't written down. Now, I remember this one as a kid. It's not on the list, but I can't explain. I'm trying to Google it, but it's difficult to put it into words to find it. What you had was you'd have a massive box about the size of 3 Monopoly boxes.
Yeah. And
in there would be this track. Now, the track will be in different shapes, and straight lengths, angles, right angles, or whatever. and they would have little grooves in the track. It would be about 2 inches wide.
Yeah.
And then you'd have a little orange clip. So when you put them together, you flip the clip over to hold them together. And you would build this track so it would then eventually meet on itself. So you'd have this whole loop of track. And then you'd have this space shuttle which held a AAA, sort of AA battery or whatever it would have been. It clips in with the wheels into the track, and then you would just click the on button on this little space shuttle, and you would see it go round the track. I'd love to know what that was called. I remember getting it one Christmas as a kid, and I was in heaven with that. I would just sit there building it in different little ways and just watching the space shuttle go round and round in circles.
Mm.
But for the life of me, I can't remember what it was called.
No, I can't remember either.
But as I say, the same way that you'd have the Hot Wheels set where you would put the Hot Wheels track together to put cars in it, this would be a heavy plastic moulded pieces that would hold the space shuttle in place and would just go round and round in circles, whatever design you did.
Yeah.
But that's one I just threw in there. But if anyone's heard of it or got any ideas of what that was, I'd love to know. So you've got Star Trek figures next.
Yes.
Now,
I had some.
I remember playing with Star Trek stuff over the years. I suppose that the figures you're talking about were the same as the one from The Big Bang Theory, when they had the Mr. Spock and the 70s transporter.
Yeah. That they're about 6 or 7 inches tall. They wore proper clothes.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the one that I had. Well, I had four. I had Kirk, Spock, McCoy, and Scotty.
Oh, okay.
And they were in the original series outfits, and had belts which had the communicators and phasers.
Yeah. Now, I got a funny feeling I did have something like that. I can't remember. I haven't got too much of a memory on that now. But thinking back, I probably did have. May well have had a cardboard cutout set as well for that.
I didn't have any sets, I just had the figures. Because what I always remember about the figures as well is that they had the trousers, much like on the outfits on the show, where the trousers of the figures didn't go all the way down the leg because they wore boots, and they were, had turn-ups at the bottom of the trousers.
Because they came out of the... came out of their trousers, didn't they? They were sort of just looked like they were well too short in the first place.
Yes, yeah. They looked like they were long shorts with a pair of boots on underneath. But yeah, I used to. Obviously, I just used to recreate some of the episodes and stuff like that.
So you would have an imaginary Gorn running around with Kirk throwing boulders.
I think I don't think I ever did a Gorn, Kirk battling a Gorn on Cestus 3 or anything like that. I think it was more I would like to do giants and I'd have Kirk versus an action man.
But again, it was you. As much as you had something to play with, you still used your imagination.
Yeah, exactly.
Not the idea of saying I had a box for Christmas and I just sat in it and pretended it was a house, but
Yeah. Well, that's always the thing, isn't it? And it still is with kids nowadays, Give them a £400 console and a box. They'll sit most of the day in the box.
Yeah, or they would colour it in and it'd be a hat, or they'd make a, robot suit out of it, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, or a base or whatever it is, but
yeah.
My son's exactly the same as that. What he'd do is he'd make it into a base and then he'd sit in it and play the £400 console.
How the kids, the minds of kids work, I do not know.
No, and especially when they think, doesn't this look good? And you think, no. Yes, I think I've not seen anything like that since Leonardo da Vinci.
Yeah, no, of course.
Or was it the Dustbin Man? It was one or the other, but I can't remember which.
But those days, you would have saving all your different cardboard boxes and squeezy bottles from Fairy washing up liquid or whatever.
Yeah, ready for the next Blue Peter thing.
Exactly, yeah. Build your space rocket and so on and so forth. It's great.
Oh God, yeah, they were the days, weren't they?
So I know you've probably got Lego in your list, haven't you?
I have. I've got Lego on my list as well.
I thought I'd go one step further and remember stickle bricks.
I had stickle bricks as well. I had those when I was about 3.
Now, I was when you texted me earlier about doing this afternoon, I just went on a website for images, and it brought back some great memories of stickle bricks. Finding that on a website.
Yeah.
And again, it's all about your imagination.
It is.
And
it is.
It was still rockets, and I think it was more to do with spacecraft for me, building out of stickle bricks.
Mm.
I mean, they're a great little idea that you have a plastic mould with little nibs of plastic that separate, where you just join them together. I think it was great. Yeah,
it was sort of like the plastic version of Velcro.
Yeah, but it's if you went on a microscope to look at Velcro and how that was what it would be built like, literally, with these long inch bits of plastic that are just pinpointed in between each other, where you just clasp them together to make whatever you want, with all the different shapes you were given in the box.
Mm.
Yeah, but do you want to quick talk about Lego? Because as much as we burnt this one out many times.
Yeah, I mean, what I still have is in boxed, so it must be worth quite a bit of money actually. Yeah, remember one year my mum and dad bought me a knight's castle, and I knocked it down and rebuilt it so many times that eventually I didn't actually need the instructions.
Oh, okay.
And I remember it was bright yellow, and I had horses as well. Which was quite unusual for Lego back then.
Yeah.
So there was loads. It was a massive thing as well. It was something like about 2 foot square.
Yeah.
Was this castle, or at least that's the way I remember it. It's probably about 3 inches or something in reality. You know how your sense of proportion changes when you're an adult. But yeah, so that was always quite a good one. But I'll tell you what I did have. And then again, this takes me back to a place where I grew up, called Farrows and Kitchens, which is now Boys. And they used to have the toy section next to the cafeteria that they had in this shop. And so, when your parents took you for a coffee, which was about the only place in Stokesay that you could actually get one when I was that age, because there was no Costas or whatever. You had to go through the toy aisle. So of course, kids being kids, I want to look at the toys. Blah. Isn't
that the idea of it though? That mums and dads can chill out for a coffee.
Oh, absolutely. Well,
everyone else, all the kids will be just in those aisles looking at all the different toys that are there.
Yeah, but then you'd be on the nag for buying stuff as well.
But the get out of jail card there was just wait for Christmas and we can see what will happen. About Christmas was 2 weeks ago. I want this one now.
But being the only child, though, that's sort of like wasn't never an issue for me that much. To be honest, my parents were quite generous in that sort of way. Yeah. I think that other parents would have called it spoiled. I was spoiled.
Okay.
But what I always remember is getting this moon buggy Lego set. And it was, the lunar rover that they made for when they landed on the moon.
Yeah.
It was a model of that. And it had a Lego astronaut. But the figure wasn't the same as the Lego figures now. It was the original Lego characters. Do you remember those with the great big heads? And you could have, you had the arms that moved about and stuff like that because they came on a thin, a thinner brick with clips on each side so you could clip on the arms.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was one of those figures, but dressed as an astronaut. So I always remember that because it had also like a little visor that flipped up and stuff like that. But, that was a good Lego set was that for the time, I thought.
Yeah.
I think it was the only time I ever came across the original Lego people before they changed it to what is now in the Lego movies and that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So,
do you want to say about Etch-a-Sketch?
Well, yeah, it's funny because when we go back, when we see a movie like Toy Story, aren't half of our toys sitting in that playroom?
Oh God, yeah. Yeah, definitely.
First of all, before we just go about this, I never mentioned the slinky, and used to have hours of fun. I think his way of getting exercise as a child was to run up and down the stairs, watching that slinky go from step to step all the way down.
Yeah. With your mother shouting, "Take your trainers off!"
Yes. But the Etch-a-Sketch was such a great idea. I never could probably do a Da Vinci on it, but
yeah.
But do you know what I mean? It was a great device that I think still lives today.
It does, yeah. You can get an app for it now, though.
Oh, can you really?
Yeah. Etch-a-Sketch app and do it on your phone or whatever.
Oh, man, that's just mental. Again, that was I think that of its time, it was something that everyone would want to have. They're 20 quid now on Prime for Amazon.
Yeah.
The classic version.
Yes.
Oh, and it looks exactly the same. Look at that.
You're going to order yourself one now, really, aren't you? You're talking yourself into it.
Oh, you can get it by tomorrow.
Yeah. I had one of those as well. They were good fun.
Yeah. 70s toys, I think, was the best for me. They really stood out. I mean, I don't know about when I see kids' toys today, and just a quick note, when we talked about it a little while ago, but Toys R Us have gone under, haven't they?
They have. Such a shame.
Yeah, and they were too damned expensive for starters.
Yeah.
But it's not good to see because there's thousands of jobs going out there. But you might be able to pick up an Etch-a-Sketch for cheap.
Maybe. With them going into receivership, though, will he actually be traded now?
I think so, because I saw it on the news, and there was some big sale signs outside. They got to clear the stock somehow.
Yeah, that's true. Probably just sell it all to Smiths.
Yeah, or they might even buy them probably and then put their stock in their shops. But anyway,
possibly.
yeah. So Etch-a-Sketch is another great one that you'd never get bored of.
Yeah, very true.
Okay, what's your next one?
Starbird. I bet you've not heard of this.
You chat, I Google.
Okay, so Starbird was. I don't know whether or not it was associated with a cartoon. If it was, I'd never seen it. But basically, it was just a spaceship.
Yeah.
That had like detachable fighters on the wings, and lasers at the front, and like a big sort of what looked like a half Death Star on the top, but with the Millennium Falcon's gun stuck on top of that.
I remember this.
Yeah, I had this.
I may well have had it. The Electronic Starbird by MB.
Yes.
Oh, God, yeah. It's funny what you do and don't remember as a kid.
Yeah, well, I had that, and I also had the base that went with it, which was made out of cardboard. And part of that base was actually the base of the box. So that when you took the lid off, you had to turn when you emptied it out, you turned the bit that held everything inside upside down, and it was all printed as part of the bottom of the base. And then you would put this flat piece of cardboard over the top of that, which then had these like supports going around the edge that you hooked in, and then it had a tower on, and you could land your Starbird on top of that. And that was quite large when it actually got made up. But I had one of those, and I used to love it. I didn't know where it came from or whatever. And also the front bit, it had like a saucer separation mode as well, so you could take the front end off. So it went into battle mode. I think that's actually where the next generation got the idea from, to be quite honest with you.
It may well have been, wouldn't it, really?
Yeah, but no, Starbird, I loved it. It was great. Played with it for hours and hours and hours. So, it was Starbird Space Avenger, wasn't it? The bug-eyed monster.
Yeah. Oh dear, that does remind me, the colours and the way that was built, very similar to that track game I had with the space shuttle that would go around in it. A very similar sort of looking device for that. So I'm going to be going onto YouTube later and having a good old scout about and see what I can see on there.
Yeah, well, it was a great toy, was that?
Yeah, absolutely. There's something I haven't written, another one I've written down, because I think we're going to come across a few of these that we remember as a kid. Do you remember you get this like big circle, cardboard circle with film cells in it all the way along, and you put them in this little camera to view the cells.
Oh, yes. Yeah. And then you would click and it would move it on. Yeah, that's it. And they were bright red, weren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember those.
Because I had a lot of Jerry Anderson stills and stuff like that. And they were a fantastic little device. Again, that was probably something in the back of Toy Story. If you look on there, I'm sure that was in there.
Yeah.
Great little device. And again, these accessories you buy with different sets. I think I think you sort of get little sets which were just like TV shows, and you just click and watch each still. Mm. Not literally together to see someone walk, but it was just viewing an image as much as you would even as a kid. I remember the kaleidoscope toy. Do you remember using that?
Yeah, I remember those. Yeah.
You would spin that, and the beads and it would, and the light would just give a different kaleidoscope image.
Yeah. Next of all, you've got to be reminiscing about having a stick with a piece of string and a spinning top, aren't you?
What? You mean with the penny farthing chasing me from behind?
Yeah. And a hula hoop.
Yeah, I think I had some hula hoops. Probably did.
Actually, I did as well. Used to stand there in the garden, gyrating my hips loads and loads and loads. As you do.
Yeah, God, yeah. Anything else comes to mind?
So you've got in yours Tonka toys, and I'm going to say about Tonka toys for me as well, because I had like a Winnebago Tonka toy, and it was huge, and you could lift the lid off, or rather you sort of like lifted it up and then it went to the side. And then there was like the full Winnebago inside, and it came with 2 characters. And this thing was massive and heavy, and I used to sit on top of it and, ride it around the house.
Well, they were, I mean, these Tonka toys were unbreakable.
Yeah, pretty much.
So they were fantastic. I mean, I had like a sort of the truck digger type, which would leave me getting filthy and dirty in the garden.
Yeah.
Just driving this around. I don't know why kids always lie on the floor and have the truck higher than them so they can drive it as if they're looking at it from a different angle. Never got that,
Yeah.
They're really great, really great. Now, even though you've had a lot of figures, you've got a couple more sort of figure types there. One I didn't put in there, which I did have. And you've got Action Man as well, because there's quite a big selection of...
Oh, a huge selection of Action Man.
Male dolls, should we say.
Yes.
I think that's what they were... As much as Barbie and Cindy were around for the girls.
Yeah.
We had Action Man. We had the Planet... I'll say you had the Star Trek characters. We had Star Wars. I've had... so the $6 Million Man would have been mid-70s in his red tracksuit.
Yeah.
Classic.
Oh yeah, I had that as well. It was brilliant.
Again, I think the toys of the time, they could just bring out anything TV show related. They would bring out these sort of doll type that was there. I think it was never ending. They could always bring something out every year, whatever it was in at the time.
Yeah.
And I don't remember if it came with any sets though.
No, there was an Oscar, wasn't there?
Oh, did that? I can't remember if there was an Oscar or not now, to be honest.
I can't remember. I'm sure that there was.
Yeah. And I just remember. I remember the Planet of the Apes ones I had.
Oh, I never had Planet of the Apes toys. Never had them at all.
And I'm not sure when they came out, but they were. You had like the gorillas in their war outfits.
Wouldn't that have been early 70s when the TV show was going on in the movies?
Possibly, yeah, possibly.
I would have thought so. That actually, they must have been a precursor to Star Wars's, toy juggernaut, as it were, and the hype that goes with it.
Because obviously with all this, there was all the comics that would follow as well.
Yeah.
I remember the Planet of the Apes had those, and obviously Star Wars brought out a serialized version of the movie in comic form
Yes,
as well.
they did.
You know,
Yeah.
really, really good. Just looking at your list, there's a few there that are sort of toys that are the game section, we call it, if you had.
Yeah, more gamey sort of ones. So like Operation, which is still going today.
Is Buckaroo going as well, I think?
Yes, yeah, it's still going. As a matter of fact, I play it sometimes with my son.
Yeah. Oh, great.
Simon Says as well.
Yeah, was that more late 70s, 80s? I can't remember now if that was.
Yeah, I think it was about early 80s, wasn't it? Something like that, Simon Says.
Yeah.
But there's lots of variation, because there's like, nowadays there's a Bop It, which is basically Simon Says, but a different, like a reimagining, because rather than flashing lights, you get certain things that you have to pull and push or whatever as well.
Yeah, no, that's true.
Yeah, so they're all, much and muchness really in terms of what they do. But, my son's got that. And of course, something as well, cards. People, even Top Trumps, playing those as a kid. Yeah. The only difference is that the content has changed now. That's the only difference. Still plays the same. No,
you're right. I mean, obviously you would have the cards. You'd have the cars, for example. I remember seeing ones like that, but I think they're out again still now.
My son's got a few different decks of Top Trumps, and a matter of fact, I've got a Stormtrooper face with a set of Top Trumps inside it.
Oh, really?
First Order Stormtrooper. And then inside is a pack of Top Trumps in there. But to be honest, I just bought that as a bit of decoration for my desk rather than actually wanting to play with the Top Trumps. They're still in the seal.
Yeah, God, yeah. Did you have an Evel Knievel by any chance?
I always wanted one, but I never got one.
Yeah.
Can you hear the violin in the background?
Because when you used to obviously you'd put the stunt motorcycle into its charging point as such, and you hear that, and you'd be winding this thing up like a little maniac, and then letting it go. And you had all these books to try and make it to do the stunts that it would never do that it did in the TV ad.
Yeah, it would never ever do anything that you wanted it to do that was from the TV ad.
Yeah, they were flying through the air in the ad, all sorts. Mine never did that.
No. My friends' ones never did either. I remember being round at my friend at primary school. His name was Tim Cunningham, although we always call him Calla.
Yeah.
Why we always call him that, I don't know. But we went round to Calla's house and, played with his Evel Knievel, trying to get him to do the jumps and the stunts, and he just invariably ended up going a bit like the real Evel Knievel a lot of the time.
Yeah,
it's probably quite a life authentic doll, to be honest.
Oh God, yeah. I think you'd never had the room in the house. I mean, if you went out in the path, out on the road, or not on the road, but sort of outside the house, you have a bit more room to play with.
Yeah, but he never rode as well, did he?
No, he didn't like the concrete.
No, not at all. I'll tell you something else as well as that. Remember the little green soldiers you used to get?
Oh, these are the ones that were in Toy Story, yeah? The bucket of soldiers?
Yeah. Well, we used to get packets, didn't we?
Mm.
I used to have like a gazillion of them. And me and my friend, a different Tim Ford, this one, what we used to do was go into my dining room, or my mum and dad's dining room, and we'd set up a battle scenario. Mm-hmm. And we'd have a hospital, which was basically made up of 4 encyclopedias, 3 as the walls, and then 1 as the ceiling, each. Yeah. Mm. And I'd get my toy tanks and other military-esque vehicles, and then we get a Subbuteo ball.
Yeah.
Okay, so we did proper battles with this, but we did use a Subbuteo ball. And the way that we used to play it was, it used to be 3 shots each. okay? And the winner was the one who annihilated everything on the other side. And what you used to have to do is chuck the Subbuteo ball, and for everyone that it hit and knocked over, then they used to be dead. And they'd have to stay on the battlefield dead. But if you knocked it, and it either half fell over because it got propped up against something, or it hit it, but it didn't knock over for whatever reason, then they had to go to hospital because they were injured, and you had to go and put them in hospital for 3 rounds. But you could kill the people in the hospital if you chucked the Subbuteo ball really hard and you knocked the hospital over. I always remember playing that because how the hell we didn't break something with this Subbuteo ball that was pinging around like a ping pong ball.
Yeah.
I don't know, but that was the game that we always used to play while having Queen on in the background.
Yeah. Well, as you said about playing games, right? Did you ever play Curbsy?
Oh, with a football, yeah.
Yeah. And I don't think you'd ever see it these days that if I explain this to people that haven't got a clue what we're talking about, was that you would stand on one side of the road, I was standing on the other, and you would have a football about the size of a basketball sort of size, and you would aim it at the curb so it would bounce back and you would catch it again.
Yeah.
And if you didn't, you'd have to throw it over and then it'd be the next guy's turn.
Yeah.
Most simplest of games would last ages until you would shout, "Car!" and you have to stop and let the cars go past, but you carried on. Yeah,
well, I was lucky I lived down a cul-de-sac. So running right down one side of the road that I lived in, it was someone's garden. And I remember we always used to get told off because half of the time, you know, when you got one of those shots where you hit the curb, but then it went straight up in the air.
Yeah.
Like vertical. And then, you know, it'd just start to tip and then it would fall over the other side of the fence, what we used to have to do in order to be able to retrieve our ball. Because the woman who lived there, she was like pretty miserable, to be honest with you. Where I lived, it was behind a cemetery in this garden, which was very narrow. It was a bit of land that they'd sort of like claimed for themselves, sort of thing, between my road and the cemetery. We used to have to go into the cemetery because there was a break in the fence. So we'd sneak into the cemetery, run along, climb over these spiked fences that they had. iron railing sort of fences, retrieve our ball and go back before she could actually notice that we dropped the ball in the garden. It's sort of like, you know, looking back, it was sort of like, it was really quite dangerous. As a matter of fact, I know was somebody who, the nephew of my next door neighbour, one day went to do that exact thing and got themselves impaled. Oh, right, okay. Yeah, halfway over. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? You know, you had a punctured ball. Yeah, Mr. Victor Meldrew type, yeah? Yeah, exactly. So that was what we always used to do when we were playing Curbsy. But we tried to use a football rather than a tennis ball because it was a bit better with a football. Yeah. But you could play it with either. True. It was just a little bit more unpredictable with a tennis ball. Oh, maybe we used to play. I remember at school we used to use a tennis ball as a football. Yeah. Just because of the size, that's just the way it did it. Oh yeah, you used to do that at school all the time, especially at break. Yeah. Because the amount of time you see all those balls on top of the roof of the school there, unbelievable. Yeah. I'm sure the teachers used to flog them off to someone. Oh God, yeah, we used to always get those taken off us. Yeah. So, any games did you have any games that would give you sore blisters and fingers and things like that? Do you remember any that would do that? No. So, obviously, I've mentioned this before. First is Crossfire, where you would have a gun attached to attached to each end of a pitch, and you would fire the metal ball bearings out, and obviously you would get them in. Yeah. But the other one I had was, do you remember the 2 fighting robots in a boxing ring? Yeah, well, that's still going now. Yeah, and Knockout. Is it called Knockout now? I haven't got a clue what we'd call it now. I'm sure it's called Knockout. Yeah.
and then the head of it. When you would use your two thumbs on the buttons when you're holding the graspers, until the first robot would get a head knockout, and then his head would spring up on a spring, and it would just pop up, and you have to reset it down to do the next round.
Yeah. No, I don't think I have actually played it, to be honest, but
yeah. Anything else you got on your list? I've got one thing which is going to do is one thing to do as all as one, but
what is that? Dinky Toys.
Yeah.
And
Corgi.
Yeah, Corgi and Dinky, they're more or less the same, aren't they?
Well,
I was just thinking before we go on to that, I forgot to mention, do you remember Rom?
What, do Rom?
No, not you do wrong. I'm not talking about the management. Yeah. I'm talking about the action figure Rom. Because Action Man had a space suit. Yeah. Yeah. Or there was a Space Action Man, which I had, and it came with this rubberized spacesuit. But he had, I don't know whether or not he was a bad guy or a good guy robot that went with him, but there was a character called Rom, which was like a robot Action Man with like red eyes, lit up.
So would it have been the same sort of idea as Gort, for example, as the robot?
Yeah, sort of. Yeah.
Actually, I've got a picture of Rom in a box. Here we go. So he looks like vintage Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah, a bit like that. But I had one of those
on the Cylon.
Yeah, I had one of them many years ago. The real basic one that only moved like very stiffly, not the one that you can pose the arms to the side and stuff like that. But yeah. It's sort of like, it looks a bit like a cross between like vintage Cylon and Iron Man had a child.
Yeah. He's a bit stretched. But those sort of robot toys that came out, especially in the late 60s, early 70s, I have had a few different versions of those types of robots, but one of mine got broken by my dad, and it was a Dalek.
All right, yeah.
Because I was frightened. My younger brother, I used to scare him with the Dalek. Don't know how that works, but I did at the time. So he actually trod on it and smashed it to bits because I was annoying him so much. I will never forget that. I tell you, as long as I live.
Actually, I've just actually looked up while we've been talking about Rom, and I never realised this because I always thought it was an Action Man character, and it's not. It's based on the Rom comic book, Rom, the Space Knight. That's what it's based off. So it wasn't Action Man at all. But for all this time, 46 years, I thought it was. I thought it was an Action Man toy, and it wasn't. It just happened to be the same size. There you go. But it's based on a comic.
But he looks very sort of much like he does look like a Cylon, I must admit.
Yeah. Well, it's very much that sort of design from that era, wasn't it? Really?
Yeah. 1979. The comic book was out.
Yeah. Well, also this Rom was actually my first experience of going into Argos.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I remember my dad taking us down with my mum to Argos at Boroughbridge Road at Middlesbrough and picking that up when I was a kid. I must have been about 7 or 8.
Yeah.
Something like that. But that is a blast from the past. It's amazing how sometimes you misremember things as well, isn't it?
No, well, I was looking up Corgi. And I remembered having the James Bond DB5 and the 1960s Batmobile.
Yes, I had the 1960s Batmobile. In a matter of fact, the Batmobile from the 1960s show, my mum and dad had taken me to Harrods, where I got it from.
Oh, okay.
And when we were there, when we came out, I was playing with it because I had the Batboat attachment to the back of it as well.
That's right, you did, yeah. There was one, yeah.
I had that, and I remember playing on it, and I was listening, my mum and dad listening to the radio, and I was sat on the middle part of the seat showing my dad this, and my dad said, "Shut up a minute," and it was announcing that Elvis had died.
No, really?
Really? That is
1970. Would that be 77?
Yeah.
Remember rightly?
Yeah, would have been.
God.
So there you go. I know where I was when Elvis died.
I do actually, because I was at home. I was living in sort of the Slough area at the time. I think, because we were just about to move from Slough to Twyford, and my dad had the music on at the time, and he was saying about it. I thought, crazy. Yeah,
16th of August, 1977.
There you go. Just before I moved. Yeah, that's how weird is that? So, as much as Corgi was a favourite, Dinky Toys for me was the number one toy for cars.
See, I think I had more Corgis, to be honest.
Yeah, and the licks, I did Google Dinky Toys, and I looked at images, and I found all of these there. And there's a little theme here, which you're probably going to work out.
Yes.
So, the first one I saw was the Space 1999 Eagle Transporter.
Yep.
Which was the base. It was green with all the white barrage bit that would go over the transporter section.
Yeah, I had the nuclear power one, which was red, and it had the nuclear waste pods underneath, which had a crane that you could lower down.
That's it. Yeah. I had the Captain Scarlet SPV, which was quite cool looking.
Yeah, very classic.
I had two from UFO, the Shadow Interceptor and the missile would fire.
Yeah.
And the mobile car, which was when they went on reconnaissance, which was
was that the one where they drove backwards?
They were like tank wheels, if you're with me, 5 or 6 wheels in a row.
And but one of them, when they actually drove it, the characters they were sat facing the back, looking at a screen of what was coming up.
No, that was the SPV.
Was it?
Captain Scarlet, yeah, because
I knew it was one of them. I couldn't remember which one.
Because if you would flip the button open, you would see inside, and there was just the chairs opposite each other.
Yeah.
Then there was Thunderbird 2, I had, and Joe 90's car. Not that Joe 90 probably drove it much, because he was a kid, but
yeah,
it was a
very. Well, if he did, he drove it illegally.
Probably, but it was a very weird looking. It looked like it had a big nuclear exhaust on the back of it with these big wheels at angles popping out.
Yeah, I had Lady Penelope's vehicle.
Did pink go well with you then? Did it on the Rolls Royce?
To be honest, I have no idea what possessed my dad to buy me that.
Maybe it was his idea, not yours.
I think it was. I think he just fancied the idea of having a Rolls Royce Dinky Toy sort of thing.
And I was looking online, and they are still. If you have those, they are worth a mint.
I'm not sure what condition mine will be in.
Mine would have been quite rough, chipped and all sorts, because they were properly played as a child.
Yeah.
But yeah, Jerry Anderson toys for me, I think, late 60s, all through the 70s. Well, early part of the 70s.
Yeah.
As a kid, I wouldn't say as a teenager, but as a child, yeah, brilliant.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Yeah, pretty good.
That was a good bit of reminiscing down memory lane.
No, but we could have mentioned all sorts. I mean, you had the Kanaka things with the ball with the two plastic balls on the string, and you would bounce them together. Which these days is health and safety. You can't have them.
No, exactly.
You know, I think half the toys we used to have, they wouldn't allow them due to injuring one child.
Yeah.
But yeah, really good fun. Enjoyed that.
Yeah. So we've got some things from the Facebook group as well. Some of the ones that people have read. Have you got that up on your screen, or shall I just read them out?
I haven't, so I'll allow you if you want to just read them. Yeah, because I can't see it at the moment. So
okay. So Dave Rivet has said, so my favourite game as a kid was Beat the Black Ball. So simple, so frustrating, and everyone wanted to play. Oh, and I could beat my dad at 7 or 8 years. That was a big deal around the 77, 78 era. Yep, it definitely was. John Cowlin, never had toys. Always been a game since the 70s with the Commodore VIC-20 and Atari 2600. Well, you've missed out there.
Absolutely.
Nick Hubbard has said... one that we've forgotten to mention in our figures as well, He-Man figures. Mask figures.
Yeah, because you see, I would have been a teenager then.
Yeah, I was sort of like on the tail end of the He-Man figures. I only had Skeletor. I bought that for Christmas one year. Visionaries figures, didn't have those, and Transformers, which I had put in a list, but we hadn't talked about. Alan Cochrane has said a game that I used to play. And this is me. Really? You used to play this? Subbuteo.
Yes, I had Subbuteo. I had the football version, and I had Subbuteo cricket as well.
I don't know how you would play Subbuteo cricket.
No, because what you would have is you would hold on to if I remember rightly, you had the cricket bat attached. It was really clever how that worked, but again, it's a very slow-paced game, just like cricket.
Yeah. Well, I used to have like a massive Subbuteo set. I had, the felt pitch that you could get, and my dad went and got this massive bit of chipboard to pin this thing on, which we had in our sun lounge on a table, and it had stands and all sorts of it. But the stands were a pain in the backside because you had to reach over to do the flicks, and sometimes you couldn't get to the way you wanted to go.
No.
But I always remember playing that, and I went round to some other people's houses and got my backside handed to me by one of my mother's work friends invited me round to have a game with her son, and I was like 7 and he was like 14. So you can imagine how that game went for me. Really, I didn't do very well, especially since I'd only just started on Subbuteo as well. But I remember getting the paints and painting in the different coloured teams and stuff like that. Because when I was growing up, even though
So what happened then? What turned you off football? What changed? Do tell.
I just find watching sport, bearing in mind I'm using the word watching sport, to be incredibly boring. I am not into this whole thing of supporting teams and whatever. It's just not for me. I don't know what it is. I like playing sport.
Yeah.
I didn't like playing sport as a kid, ironically. But I like playing sport now, and I just can't do it that well now. But no, I don't know. I think it was a combination of a lot of things, and it just completely turned me off. Football and sports generally. I don't know. It's just been like that for that many years now. I can't remember what the actual catalyst of it was, but there's a lot of things just happened. So I'm not bothered about watching sport.
Yeah. Okay.
But I mean, I used to very, very many years ago, when I did kind of watch a little bit of football, I used to be a Spurs fan.
That's okay. At least you got that a bit right.
Well, my dad used to come from, even though he's Welsh, he lived in London for most of his life, so sort of like, supported my dad's local team.
Yeah.
So, where do we have? So, we said at Alan's. So, Jason Toon, my favourite toy as a kid was Lego. I used to play with the stuff for hours. Yeah, can go with that one. I used to do the same myself.
Yeah.
Andrew Emsley said, somebody beat me to it, but the He-Man figures. Mark Sharman, Big Track, was an amazing, but put a lot of time in the Rubik's Cube and the Rubik's Snake. There's two other ones that we didn't mention as well, because Rubik's Cube was big when we were kids.
Well, actually, I was a teenager when I bought that.
Well, being a teenager, you're still a kid, aren't you?
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm still a kid now, as Mrs. tells me, but,
Yeah, my missus tells me exactly the same thing. She said, but you love me anyway.
Yeah.
John Stangroom says, the Dukes of Hazzard stunt set and Scalextrics were in my bag, as well as classic space Lego.
Yeah. Hey.
Yeah. Paul Barber, he's also said Scalextrics and Super Striker and Meccano. God, Meccano, I forgot all about that.
Yeah, I had Scalextrics, must admit. I'd vintage. My set was probably a very old set, but it was more vintage cars the Formula, well, not say Formula One, but of what was of the time, you know.
Yeah. Well, it's also, Paul's actually given us a little text here. He says, probably why nowadays it's FIFA and Forza Motorsports, and I left school and became a mechanic. I was a late baby. My dad was 56, my mum 42. They had no money, and I faced early retirement due to ill health, so presents were basic. I don't mind, did not know why, did not know any better, but one year my brother was in the Navy, bought me a full top of the range Scale Electrics. I remember coming into the living room and he'd opened a box to display it to me, and I genuinely asked who it was for. Very magical moment. I realised it was mine. I've never forgotten the feeling of kindness in the years, and I repaid the favour when his luck was down, and bought him a cracking Christmas present to cheer him up, a top-of-the-range mountain bike. I sneaked into the garage on Christmas Eve and left a note on it saying, enjoy your very own Scale Electrics Day. Oh, classic. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
No matter of fact, we never mentioned bikes either. I know they're not technically toys, but obviously something that you have as a kid. And I never had a bike as a kid.
Didn't you? I had a chopper.
Well, I was about to say, but my one of the neighbours' kids had a chopper as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but great. It's been a good show, this one, hasn't it? For a bit of reminiscing.
Oh God, because we're old farts now, so.
Well, speak for yourself.
it's what we like. It's what we like to do, isn't it? Back in the day.
It is, yeah. We've really turned into our dads. Well, I remember when.
Yeah. Next thing it'd be TV adverts. That'd be even worse to do, probably.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, we'll talk about Hovis. Hey, I remember those days when I was a lad doing that Hovis walking. Right. Okay. Anything else to add to this, Steve? So
no, not that I can think of. I'm probably sure I'll sit down in a minute when I have a cup of tea and I think, oh, should have said that, but no. Because
I think we've been pontificating on this for about an hour and 10 minutes.
Yeah. People have already skipped it already now, haven't they? So
yeah. Well, there is in the description of the podcast below about what the track times are. I've tried putting those in now so people can skip it if they want.
Yeah,
so,
why not?
Okay. In that case then, without any further ado, we'll go on to the listener questions.
John, what's happening to us?
Okay, so time for your listener questions now. And as normal, we've got Mark kicking us off. So, do you enjoy retro games? Do you find 8-bit and 16-bit games have a certain charm, or do they just put you off trying a game? Steve?
Occasionally I might go back to the odd game or two.
Yeah.
I mean, I do have on the Xbox Alex Kidd in Miracle World. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do.
There's a little mini box set of three games coming in that one. And there's another set for Sega with Golden Axe and have things like that. But just occasionally, it's just a 10-minute fix probably, as much as that's all it'll be.
Yeah.
I'd never put a hell of a lot of time to it. I think it's just remembering what they were like, and then right, move on. Let's go back to my latest game where the graphics are so incredibly, if you'd have shown those two different versions to someone, if you could pull that out the future and take it to the past and say, look, this is what you're going to get. They'd be putting that 16-bit in the bin and going straight to that, wouldn't they?
Yeah, I have to admit, I think that the thought of 8 and 16-bit games is better than the reality. Do you agree?
Maybe. If we can put a game like Gallagher in this, I like to pick them up all the time, every now and then. And Space Invaders or Asteroids, they still hold a little bit of charm for me.
A little bit. I suppose I'm like that with Pac-Man.
Yeah,
Defender,
I love my
Asteroids.
Pac-Man.
Yeah. But not some of the other games. I don't think, not nowadays anyway.
No. If you,
sorry, go on.
I was going to say something like Joust or, some of these other, or even going back a bit, maybe go back further.
Yeah.
To the 8-bit, it's just a pixel, it's a block. It's nothing special, is it, really?
No. Would you have chosen Joust had you have not been listening to Ready Player One?
Do you know, it just came into my head. Do you like that? Do you know what I mean? And people are going, what's Joust? Well, you will find out.
Where you joust.
You will find out all about ostriches.
Yeah. So, for me, it's the idea of retro games is much nicer than the reality of them. This week, I'm not kidding you, I was a couple of nights ago thinking, I've got my Amiga, should I do something with that? And I sat and I thought, I wonder if you can get any enhancements for the Amiga to make it a bit more meaty. So I started watching these YouTube videos where people were reviewing cards that you can get in, which are either based on the 6800 chip that's been turboed or the 6810, 20, 30, 40, 60, whatever. Obviously the later models that you went up to, where they're not the pure 6800s, you had more compatibility issues. But, about expansion, so you could get a whole 4 megabytes of RAM in there and things like that as well.
Yeah.
And it's just, I was sat there and I was thinking, I could do this, I could do that, I could crack the case open, I could, put that over the graphics chip and I could do this. And I thought, hang on a minute. Why? Why am I even thinking of doing this? I could just do it on a Raspberry Pi and it'd be just as fast.
Oh,
or
yeah.
faster.
Yeah.
And I just thought, I'd have a Raspberry Pi, and I started doing it and I thought, oh God, no. And I stopped doing it. Stopped looking at these videos. So that was kind of like the end of that. But you can actually buy kits to upgrade things like your Atari ST or your Amigas to 50 megahertz. Oh, sorry, 50 hertz rather. Oh no, it was megahertz, wasn't it? Because 7.14 megahertz was the Amiga.
But when you play those games, I think your rose tinted spectacles will suddenly change, and you'll be off in 10 minutes. Yeah.
Well, that's exactly what I did when I started doing a bit of retro last year. I just thought, no, I prefer where gaming is now. For me, the furthest I want to go back to is a PS1.
Yeah.
Where gaming really changed.
Well, it did.
For the better.
It did. And I think it was, at the time, it was quite an improvement.
Oh, it was leaps and bounds above.
Yeah, and when you're seeing the CGI cutscenes at that time, it was like, wow, you're just blown out of the water.
Yeah. I remember watching, Wipeout, the original one, watching the movie, the FMV.
Yeah.
Bit of the beginning of that, and I was thinking, I wonder if one day we'll ever get to play games where the graphics are as good as that, and of course now we're playing games where the graphics are better.
Yeah, exactly. There you go.
Yeah. So, moving on then. Do you want to read the next one?
So, do you keep your old consoles? Mark's got every console owned in his loft, but I've got the original Xbox sitting alongside me, but that's about it at the moment. I think I've got some at my mum's and dad's, but they're in the loft somewhere as well. I don't even know what's there, to be honest.
Yeah, I have a few.
Yes, you have. You got quite a few apparently. Haven't you? I remember you talking about it in the past.
Yeah, I've got. Let me think. Just take a deep breath here. Commodore 64, MSX, 2 Acorn Electrons, a BBC Master, a Commodore Amiga 1200 with an 80 megabyte hard drive, and 3 megabytes of memory. I have a CD32. I have a PlayStation 1. I have a Game Boy. I have a Game Boy Advance. I have an N-Gage. I have a Dreamcast, a PlayStation 2, a PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4. I said PlayStation 1 as well, didn't I?
Yeah.
The original Xbox, 2 360s, 3 Xbox Ones, a Vita. Technically, because I bought it, I've also got a Switch, even though I gave it to my son. A Wii U and a Wii. And an Xbox One X and 2 other Xboxes.
As much as you've got all those consoles, when have you ever dug out one of the real old ones last? When did you last do that, do you think?
Did I say Dreamcast?
May have done, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah, I mean, all right, I know you were on about what you were on about earlier, but when was the last time you dug out your oldest console to actually play it?
My oldest one?
Yeah.
Donkeys years ago.
Because that's it, isn't it? I mean, as much as you can...
I haven't gone back any further back than the PlayStation 1 for years and years and years, apart from under emulation.
I reckon you should just watch a video of some of it. That's enough to do, than actually playing it and then think, okay.
I must admit, I wouldn't mind going back and playing Manic Miner or Chucky Egg or Pajama-Rama. They'd be quite cool to play again. As a matter of fact, let's have a modern realisation of Pajama-Rama, because that was a weird game. But yeah, they were the days. So, but yes, so that's what I've got, basically. Okay. So, should we go to Nikki? Nikki Wilson, how do you choose what game to play next from your pile of shame?
It's whatever takes my fancy at the time, as they say.
It is for me as well.
There's no rules, no regulations, or do I shut my eyes and go, that one? It just, whatever I fancy at the time, really.
Yeah, and the weird thing is, at the moment, I really am getting a big calling to play Rise of the Tomb Raider, because I never finished that.
Yes, something else I finished you haven't, for a change.
Yeah. But I'm seriously considering booting that up, because I've got all of the expansions and whatever for it as well. And it'd be nice to get, knee deep into a game. But at the moment, I'm wanting to watch more than I am play more. So I'm watching more TV and movies. So I find getting into gaming, unless it's a 3 to 4 hour experience I can knock off in a couple of nights.
Yeah.
I find it difficult to engage.
Well, that's it. We'll lose our mojo every now and then.
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest, after finishing Persona 5, I'm sort of I thought, don't know where to go really, but, thought I'd just go and pick up a couple of games on the Game Pass, try them out.
I think you did the right thing. Because also, there's always games being added as well. And, if it stops you having to fork out so much money on games because you think that they'll come out of Game Pass later on, all the better.
Yeah, I mean, so, there's a few. Even actually, I did download Injustice 1 because I never finished it. So after playing Injustice 2 for so much, I might even just have a look at that as well.
Yeah.
So, it's... I think we've got more games now to play than we've ever had.
Yes.
All the different ways that we can download, the Netflix version, there's Games for Gold, PS, their version, PlayStation's version.
Yeah.
There's more free games to play now than we've ever had, so there's never not an excuse to play something. Or no. But we like shiny new things. That is always the other part of it that may just sway us to something new all the time.
Yes.
But, there's games that you might have not even dug out of a wrapper and you play it and realise, I should have got that earlier.
Yeah.
I find that always the case.
Yeah, me too as well. So,
yeah.
Do you want to do Steve?
So
Steve?
Okay, Steve. So Steve Ridley says, with all the snow down in the UK and the world's climate changing, what's your playing game routine? Do you have a controller warm-up, snacks, or do you have... I can't actually read what it says there because it's all shortened, but...
Lighted, sound.
Yeah, and...
then before you finish, what do you do last?
What do you do last? Go to bed.
Yeah.
Actually, no, but to be honest, I don't have any warm-up routines as much as my warm-up is when the missus says night, I just go to my hand and pick that controller and go on. That's my warm-up.
Yeah.
I try not to go to bed straight after playing games. I like to chill out for a bit, maybe a bit of TV or listen to some music just to sort of come down.
Yeah.
Because I don't know about you, have you ever gone to bed after, if you've done like a multiplayer session, we've done in the past, you sit there and you're sort of still wound up with the gaming. You need to just come out of that.
No, to be honest, I can just fall asleep.
Oh, you like that? Oh, you're a lazy sod, are you?
Yeah, I can just go. I could pretty much go to sleep at a hat. Well, while I'm a night owl, when I do go to bed, I'm asleep by the time my head hit the pillow most of the time.
But sometimes I just nearly watched the whole movie, and I shouldn't have done. But
Yeah. Yeah, I must admit, I normally can go to sleep quite quickly. It's just I choose not to. So, but I would love to say that my wife gives my fingers a massage so that they're nice and supple, ready for the remote control, and they feel good and I've got the good grip in that there. But in reality, I go downstairs, get a can of Coke, come upstairs, switch the telly on.
Yeah, I always hear that as you.
Yeah, and then send you a message to say, right, see what we're talking about tonight. So that's a norm for me.
Okay, do you want to do Craig's then?
Yeah, so top 3 video game weapons for me, it'd be Destiny Hung Jury, Gears of War, the Chainsaw Gun, and Half-Life 2 Gravity Gun.
I must admit, I am very fond of the Hung Jury. And I'd love to see that back in Destiny 2, if they could do that.
Yeah.
Another one, the Portal Gun.
Yeah.
That was pretty good. And a third one. I'd probably go for the Gears, because that was something new at the time. Having the chainsaw attached to a weapon, so you could sit in there, chop someone's head off, was just marvellous.
Yeah.
Can you be different? Have you got a good? I know this is on the spot, so. Yeah,
I'm gonna be from Destiny, the Icebreaker.
Mm-hmm.
Before it was nerfed.
Yeah.
Because how many Nightfalls did we complete because of the Icebreaker?
Hiding behind a rock, waiting to take that character out. Yeah.
Yeah, and just taking him down a few points at a time. It took about 45 minutes. So the Icebreaker, I would say, Thorn from Destiny. As well. I did like that as a hand cannon, which was unusual for me because I didn't like hand cannons. And finally, I'm going to cheat a little bit. I'm going to say that lightsaber that you had when you played.
God.
When you played The Force Awakens. Not The Force Awakens. Any of the Star Wars games.
Okay.
It's a video game.
Yeah, okay, yeah. I just something Star Wars will creep in there somewhere. I'm sure of it.
You know me so well.
I do. Okay, so Neil McBain is saying, "What's your gaming snack of choice?"
Gaming snack.
But then again, I don't like to get my controller dirty.
No.
Imagine having Whatsits, for example. Yeah, how much mess they would make on your controller. I couldn't do that.
Well, crisps generally as well.
Yeah.
Maltesers.
Do you know what I'd love to say? Because I do have a little bit of a fetish for them. Is pork scratchings. Not that they're not good for you or anything. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But actually, I don't mind. Actually, this is the other end of that is probably a little bit of cheddar cheese and some nuts.
Yeah.
And
I've never eaten nuts. I don't like them. But for me, if I'm going to settle down, I suppose this answers two questions actually. If I'm going to settle down for a night, I'll make a sandwich or do toast with some pate on it. Normally duck à l'orange, because I like that.
Yeah.
And then I'll sit and eat that for the opening bit while I get warmed up, as it were, and then probably connect onto you and might have some chocolates like Maltesers or Counters or something like that there.
They're clean and not so sticky, are they?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. How about some Marmite and toast? That's not quite good.
No, that's what I would go duck à l'orange, not Marmite. I'll eat Marmite, but I'm not a big fan of it. So, but I know that you're obsessed by it.
I am. I really am.
Okay. So Paul Barber says, would you say that 4K TV Pro and X Enhanced has increased your gameplay? Do you switch on your new kit and feel good that you've made a heavy investment in your hobby?
I feel good about it. I actually put the X on more than the Pro.
Yeah.
Because I think they've just done such a fantastic job in giving you more variation in games from the past that you can now play visually better. Without sounding, I don't want to sound too fanboyish when I say that, but Microsoft have done an outstanding job with it.
They have. The problem with Microsoft, though, is the lack of exclusives. But hopefully that'll change this next year.
Oh yeah, that probably will. I know. I mean, there's some fantastic ones coming up on the PlayStation over the next few months. So
yeah,
we've got best of both worlds, so it's not too bad, is it? We
have, yeah. I mean, for me, I would say I probably play the Xbox more as well, and I have the Pro for exclusives more than anything else. Yeah, and in terms of 4K, yeah, it's beautiful to look at. The level of detail that goes in there. So I would normally favour a 4K view, but to be honest, if the game, I'm not as bothered about which format that I play it on about the visuals. I've never been, it's nice to have.
I mean, I don't, like you've double dipped quite a lot, where I probably don't.
Yeah.
But, I mean, what games I've played on the PlayStation still look good. Don't get me wrong.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the PlayStation 4 and the Pro are fantastic consoles. It's just what I found with the release of the X is that this has flipped this competition, for want of a better term, between Sony and Microsoft. For me, back to the 360 days, so the 360 is my main console, or the Xbox One's my main console, and the other one is for exclusives again. And there are a lot of exclusives. So.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So that's not a bad thing. So.
Yeah.
Shall we move on? Last question.
So, Alan Cochrane, as Hollywood seemed to remake old classic movies into poor versions, but instead, could you pick a bad movie to be remade into a decent version? His idea is The Last Jedi.
Here. Here. Do you know what? I've been reading stuff about Abrams getting involved in all of this and saying, that fans are, if they're criticising The Last Jedi, are just not getting it or just being disingenuous or whatever. No, it's a rubbish movie. Let's face it, it's bad. We're going to do a special on it when Steve finally actually gets the courage to actually finish watching this.
Yeah, well, it's actually it's got a release date now, isn't it? Are you going to buy it on Blu-ray or not? Because it's going to be in your collection then, because it's one of what you have.
Well, it's canon. It's canon, isn't it? So if I want to have a complete collection, I'll have to. And I have to pore over the movie because I do occasionally the Star Wars theories as well.
Yeah.
So, which I've got on my YouTube channel. So I'm going to have to. But it doesn't mean that I like it as a movie. Just like I don't like The Phantom Menace as a movie, but it's canon. I have to respect that. But to me, I was enjoying the movie up until Mary Poppins. It turned into Mary Poppins. Have you got to that bit in the movie yet?
I've got to a bit. I don't know if you call it Mary Poppins. I call it Supergirl, but there you go.
Right. Lair in space.
Yeah. Absolutely pathetic. Sorry.
It was. Well, to me, it just looked like Mary Poppins. I was expecting a load of children to start coming along and, suddenly going into a cartoon world, to be honest. It was ridiculous. It was the worst. I would have much rather Anakin stepped out of the shower and gone, wow, that was a dream. I think that would have been a stronger storyline.
Probably. Yeah. But
no. I'd say The Last Jedi needs a remake. And it needs Rian Johnson a hit putting out on him, to be honest. But anyway.
But apart from that, it's due out on the 9th of April.
Yeah, 2 days before my birthday.
Yeah. But to be honest, if anyone else was thinking about it, you'd be better off buying the complete saga on Blu-ray for 48 quid than buying that movie.
Yeah.
That's what I would say.
I think the thing that's the killer, though, is if you are a fan and you want a complete collection, you have to buy it, whether or not you like it or not.
Oh, yeah, no, I totally agree. And that's my dilemma, to be honest.
Yeah, it's mine as well. I will buy it, but I don't think it's a good film. Maybe if I watch it again, I might change my mind.
Yeah, so I might wait till April, so you have to long wait. But if I could think of another film that can be remade that was bad, on the spot, I can't think of one. Actually, how about remaking one of the older Jaws movies? I know as much as I don't think you should attempt to remake a classic.
Yeah.
But remaking maybe Jaws, maybe remaking one of the other Jaws movies, just so you get one of those out there again.
Yeah.
But really I can't think of anything, to be honest. Sorry about that, Alan.
Well, actually, I counted Star Trek 5, Star Trek 7, Star Trek 9.
No, you just delete them from your brain.
Actually, to be fair, Star Trek 8 as well, to be fair. Because that was the one that broke the normal thing, wasn't it?
Well, Star Trek 5 didn't go to plan.
Do you know what? Star Trek 5 had the best opening sequence of any Star Trek movie, with Cyborg. And then him suddenly starting to laugh and that, and the way that they did that, and I thought, yes, this is going to be a good film. And then I thought, oh my God, this is awful.
Yeah.
But I would say the one I would like to see me remade the most would be Nemesis. Because that was not a good send-off for the next generation.
No, it wasn't. I mean, it's okay.
No, it's not.
I can think of I can think of another next generation movie that's probably poorer than that, and that's Insurrection.
Well, yeah, but that's what I mean. That was the one that broke the pattern, wasn't it?
Yeah. But never mind.
Mm.
Anyway, I think we come to the end. Is that it?
I think that we have, yeah. So in that case, shall we do our contact details? Steve, do you want to give out your details?
Okay, so Twitter, it's at Steve007. PSN ID is the real Steve007. Xbox Steve007, and my email is steve007@hotmail.co.uk. And yours is?
Mine is, well, if you want to watch YouTube, you can, for a start off, subscribe to the Pop Culture Gamers YouTube channel. At the moment, we've only got the shows on there. But we will be putting videos on as well. Also, my personal YouTube, just search for Haydn Rees-Jones. On Twitter, I'm HERJUK. On PSN, Xbox Live, Steam, you name it, I'm on it. I'm on there as HERJUK as well. And funnily enough, my email address is herjuk@gmail.com. Don't forget as well, we also have our Facebook group, which if you just look for Pop Culture Gamers, and you can come and join us there. Also, we have our website, which is http://popculturegamers.podbean.com. And basically nowadays you can get us on just about any system, and we are working on Spotify as well. So we'll hopefully soon get on there. But if you have picked this up from somewhere else, you can get us on iTunes, get us on Podbean, get us on any pod on your Amazon Echo if you want. There's all sorts of places.
And leave us some reviews as well, please, would be nice.
Yes, please. Yeah, it'd be always good to get reviews on any of the systems that you actually use, so we can see those as well. And, you know, we can just keep going from strength to strength. So I think that's it, Steve, for another week. Jolly
good. Look at that. Done well within the time we needed.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay. Well, thank you, Steve, for your input again.
Pleasure.
And other than that, it's a good night from me.
And a good night from him.
Good night.
Good night.
You are about to witness history in the making.